Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rams House podcast. We appreciate you guys joining us after an electric win over the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card round.
Let's go, baby.
I'm your host, Ethan, joined by OJ, Will, and Joe. What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up, boys?
Feeling good, man.
Hey,
Feeling
boys,
good.
doing, man?
Great.
Victory Monday yet again. Well, Tuesday actually. Victory Tuesday.
Victory Tuesday. You know what? It was exciting about that game is it not only was a victory in the playoffs, but it was there is some real glimmers of hope to be had for the future because whether anyone likes it or not, certain things aren't going to change. We'll get into it, but I want to say, like we were talking about it in the last few episodes, like Chris Shula's not going anywhere for a while. And regardless of how we think he might have been doing throughout the season, he showed us something that we've been asking for all season long, which is the ability to adjust, like to make a real adjustment, not just that, but also to like do something key as far as taking away the other team's best weapon, right? And we've been begging for that all season long, and we finally got it. And we're going to dive into that real deep because I think all of us are feeling pretty good after last episode when we kind of were like, this is what we need to do to win. And then that's exactly what we did. So it was,
man.
Not only am I feeling good about the win, I'm feeling good about the fact that we analyzed that game properly. And
he watched the podcast.
He
man.
did.
He must have watched the
Shula
podcast.
watched the
He
podcast.
literally, I just want to emphasize that because we were so specific too. Like
So
Ethan and
specific.
OJ were even saying, "Hey, send Jacoby Durant on some corner blitzes," and like we got exactly that. The game plan that if you went and watched the last pod, like the game plan that we asked for, he did everything that we asked for.
Dude,
loved it.
100%. Not just that. We even said what would be really nice, but it's not going to happen because we don't do this, was if we played a ton of man on Addison and Justin Jefferson and bracketed them. We played the most man we've played for like, I think since Brandon Staley. We played so much 100%. Man.
Yeah, it was definitely
that's
majority
man even. Yeah. Dude, I couldn't believe my eyes.
I like when we play man, bro. I like when we play man.
I mean, we talked about it, right?
Kobe Durant plays his best when he's playing man.
It's funny because I had talked to my buddy on the phone about it, and I was kind of like regurgitating what we talked about on the podcast. And he's like, it would be really nice, but we never play man. And like halfway through the second quarter, he texted me. He goes like, we've been in man almost every play this game. And I was like, I know, it's crazy.
And I want to thank the Lions because I really think if the Lions hadn't played them before us and put this film out there for us to kind of replicate that, I don't think we would have just done it on our own accord. So thanks to the Lions.
It was exactly what we talked about last week too, because we did it in the first matchup, but it was flipped. It was the offensive thing. Brent Johnson came up with his game plan against the Vikings to negate the blitz, where he just fast action, passing, nonstop play action, etc. We used it to perfection in week 1 or in week 8, which was the first matchup. And then we stole the defensive game plan this week. We played it to perfection, and we actually ended up doing them both. And dude, so there's just a lot to be happy. Now, that's the first step in the evolution of Shula, though. The first thing you got to be able to do, which is the most basic thing, is, hey, you see something that works against a team, against a coordinator, against a quarterback, you replicate it, you do it.
Use it.
Step 1, now step 2 is coming up with your own counters to what people do. But hey, I'm happy to see the evolution of Shula to where he's actually able to go, you know what? That worked. Let's try that ourselves, and then implementing it. By the way, it's harder than what the Lions did because the Lions play man already. We totally flipped ourselves from almost exclusively zone to heavy man. I gotta give credit to McVay, Shula. That was ballsy and it worked. Yeah. And by the way, I would like to just state that it seems that our personnel is actually more made for that too. Mm-hmm. Kobe Durant and even Akello looked way better playing in man than he does in zone. In fact, two of Akello's worst plays of the night came when he was playing in zone.
That's a really good point, and I totally agree with that. All our our entire secondary looked way better. Every single player, there wasn't a single player that I had a complaint with. I think you're exactly right. I think that scheme fits them better. We might have found something here. Man.
I agree. And I want to give a shout out to a guy who didn't come in until the end of the game, but he made a great play from the deep safety position. That was John Johnson III. Great pass breakup late, and it just makes me go, I think he can do that all game against AJ Brown because that's who John Johnson is. Kinshin's played. Let's just get in the game. There's just so much to be excited about.
There's so much to talk about. Yeah.
But I think the highlight is Chris Shula has given us a glimmer of hope that he can actually evolve into being a good defensive coordinator. And he's not
Agreed.
a polished guy like Mark Winkdale. What is his name?
Martin
Martin.
What is it? Whatever.
I don't know.
I got it was the
I'm blanking on his
the Giants
name,
DC.
Some of the Giants. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Martin Winkdale?
Wink,
Winkendale or
no,
something.
That's so funny, bro.
his name is some-
You know what's
Right.
funny is we've been
I gotta look it up.
we've been wanting him for years, and suddenly we're all drawing a blank on his name. Are you looking at
Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale? I was halfway right.
Wink Martindale.
To be
You're
fair,
flipping his name.
I have a migraine. That's my excuse. But yeah, we were flipping his name. But anyways, it's not like Vic Fangio, Wink Martindale. Like there was these guys that we wanted that were polished defensive coordinators. And to be fair, it's like Shula's brand new to the gig. He's brand new to the job, and maybe he was afraid of taking chances, but he took a chance in the biggest game of the season for us so far, and it paid off in spades. It paid off. So I really want to give him. It's funny because we were during the game. Will, I think you were like huge. I'm so impressed with Shula, and I was like meh. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, because I said meh because like Darnold was playing like dog crap, but Darnold was playing like dog crap because the game plan was exactly what makes Darnold play like dog crap. So like I thought about it some more, and I was like, yeah, he's playing badly, but like we're causing him to play really badly by our game plan and the scheme.
Right.
And even if it was a copycat of what the Detroit Lions did, he still did it. He still went way out of his comfort zone to do a defense that was like opposite of what we've been doing all season long.
Right.
So I love it. Let's go ahead and dive into the recap. I mean, you know what? It wasn't a perfect game at all. And honestly, this was I would even go as far as to say that this was a game where like we didn't execute really well, but both game plans were elite.
Yeah.
For the situation.
Yeah.
Because
I agree with you.
Because we put up 30 on the Vikings last time with the same game plan because we executed better. And now we did this, but the defensive game plan was great. Like we even had like moments where I want to say there was a huge pass to Justin Jefferson, like his biggest catch of the game, where Quentin Lake was playing deep safety and decided to be like 20 yards away from the only receiver in his vicinity for some reason. And it was like a 20-yard pickup. And there was some issues in the run game. Cam Akers had a huge run against us, which was like just a massive inexplicable hole. There was definitely times where you're like, oh, the execution isn't on point, but the game plan was perfect. It was literally just we took away the run game and we took away the first read, oftentimes the second read, and we rushed Darnold. Some exotic blitzes from the corners. But hey, who was our two biggest plays of the game, arguably on defense, was Kobe Durant blitz and the Ahkello Witherspoon blitz. Mm-hmm. We wanted some more corner blitzes. We got two of them, and they were two of the biggest plays in the game.
Yeah. Man, that was a good call by us, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that one.
We were talking about it last week, right? Like a lot of like Shula's blitz, calls were very basic.
Predictable.
Like, what I mean by basic, predictable, Roseboom with like Hoyt just up the middle as like a backer. Like it just was ineffective. Like if you're sending in an exotic blitz, that person has to be, first of all, fast and has to be able to get to the QB quickly. And that's what Durant can do. That's what Kilo did. That's what guys like Spates can do, Curl can do, even Kitchens can do. And look, man, like we said, it's like they watch the pod and they listen to our game plan.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I know that sounds like cocky or whatever, but realistically, like almost everything that we asked to be done on defense happened. Like everything. Yeah. The only thing that I can't think of that happened was that we asked for Quentin Lake to be subbed out for John Johnson.
I don't think it's.
But he's the green dot.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Quentin Lake played well, to his credit. I gotta be.
He actually, you know what he did. He great, and you know what might have been part of the reason why is because he was playing a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. Most of his great plays came to the line of scrimmage. He broke up a wide receiver screen. He had a couple nice run stops. He actually was very heavily on the boundary at the line of scrimmage, and he seemed to make a lot of plays over there.
Right. And I think because you mentioned, offense and defense game plan, and I think we could have scored a lot more points if we needed to. And I think it was just one of those situations where, it's 24-3 at halftime. Sean McVay kind of went in his shell a little bit. You could argue he was even a little bit too conservative, but to be honest, I understand. I get it. I mean, the Vikings were just not threatening us at all. So all that to say is I think offensively we just didn't even need to do that much and take certain things out of our bag. But I think we could have easily scored, 31-35 if need be.
Potentially. Yeah. I mean, there was some Stafford did get into some inaccuracies later on in the second half. Kyron kind of had his moments on and off. I mean, I was uninspired by. You're right. Some of it was play
We had
calling,
some penalties as well.
conservative
Yeah.
game.
Oh yeah,
game
definitely
plan.
penalties. Definitely penalties. That killed us.
I would like to see more from the offense as a whole, as far as execution wise is concerned. But also, I wish we would have spread the ball around more. I think we talked about it, but like at halftime,
sure.
it was Puka had like 5 or 6 targets, and then all the rest of the targets were tight ends and running backs. It was just dump offs. So the only receiver getting targeted again was Puka until that Cooper Cup pass for what, like 29 yards, something like that.
Right. Which
Which
the
is
one
great
pass
pass.
he's thrown,
That was his only target, bro.
Only
it's
target.
a great
That was his only
catch, and
target.
it's
Now, if you guys were
Nice.
watching the Manning cast, they keyed in on Cup multiple times and basically showed, hey, Cup's been open on this play. Like they kept showing Cup was open a lot, and Stafford just wasn't going to him. And it's kind of more of that tunnel vision thing that we've been talking about with Stafford. And unfortunately, I think if you look at Stafford's best games of the season, like the Buffalo Bills game, it's a game where Stafford broke out of the tunnel vision and was really spreading the ball around. You have to force teams to really protect all the different areas of the field and all the different candidates that can receive passes. And if you do too much tunnel vision, it becomes too easy for them. We can't do that against the Eagles. We have to spread the ball around. We have to open up the whole field.
Yep.
Me, just to talk about the game a little bit,
Sure.
how I really looked at it. Offensively, I sort of agree with you guys. It wasn't. It was a good. It was good offense. It wasn't really spectacular. I felt like it was probably above average. We haven't reached that Bills game yet, but I think this
Yeah.
game was somewhere in between. Probably like the last Vikings game, somewhere around that. It was a decent day, but the thing that impressed me the most was the defense. Like we were talking about the last 3 weeks, even though we were playing awful teams, the defense was constantly holding teams under 10 points, constantly holding teams in single digits. And what I've been seeing is that I sort of feel like that we've hit our rhythm. A lot of guys are starting to get hot. The defensive line is getting hotter. The secondary, surprisingly, is really playing really good football right now. Like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson didn't really have crazy games. Like Jordan Addison had 29 yards, Justin Jefferson had 58 yards, and he had that one big catch, which was great. But they sort of kept them in check. We still had that issue with the tight end. TJ Hawkinson had a good game. He had 5 for 64 and a touchdown. That's
Yeah.
annoying. That's just something that's going to be there for the rest of the season. It's going to be
That's not
different
going to change till Christian
with
plays
I
for
Goddard.
think
us.
that
With
I
Goddard
think
next
that's
week,
just
yeah,
due to just who we have playing out there.
Well,
Like
yeah.
because
Roseboom just gets cooked by
I
everyone.
mean, I
Rosewoom
want to.
was pretty awful. Yeah.
I mean, first, it's not that I disagree, but Joe, I know you weren't. I don't think you were on the pod last week, but we were even saying,
Uh,
you know what? If T.J. Hawkinson, I think it was more of a thing where we said as a defense, that's what we're going to let you
Yeah,
have.
true.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'll think
yeah,
about all the attention
that
that
makes
goes
sense.
to Addison and Jefferson. So I think we were all
Yeah,
like, at least for me personally, I was like, you know what? If Hawkinson has 100 yards, but JJ and Addison are in check, I'm cool with that. So while I don't
not,
like it, I
yeah.
understand. Like I'm kind of like, all right, well that's the thing that you have to give up, and so I was cool with it in that regard, I guess.
Yeah.
No,
I
you know
just
what?
want to.
You know what? That's a really good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So
I just I just want to
yeah,
quickly
go
to
ahead.
chime in on that point. Like the people that didn't watch the pod, last week, basically what we said was that if we just bracket, Jefferson and Addison, just let Hawkinson just eat it. Like it's fine because our reasoning for it is because Darnold mainly just focuses on Jefferson as his first read based off the analysis that we had. And after, if Jefferson's not open, he just panics. And that's basically what just happened that entire game.
And
Yeah.
specifically, it was bracketing Jefferson vertically and bracketing
Yeah.
Addison horizontally, with some kind of zone piece that could just create the illusion at least that the guy wasn't open, and that was done really well and it was really effective. So I actually agree with you both. I think if we had a better middle linebacker, Hawkinson
Yeah.
probably only has 20 yards. It wasn't like
Yeah.
any of it was spectacular. In fact, the touchdown catch that Hawkinson had was an awful pass. And
Mhm.
that, I mean, if that's
Yeah.
a good inside linebacker, then that's an interception
They
probably.
knocked the ball
It
Right,
out.
was
right,
like two and a
right,
half
right.
yards
Yeah.
behind
Honestly,
Hawkinson. So
I think
Yeah.
that was the majority of his yards. To be
it was
honest
like
with
an
you.
18-yard catch, I think, wasn't it? Something
Yeah.
like that. So
It was a 26.
yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about, yes, we did just allow him to be man up, like single coverage all game, but also our single coverage just sucks. So
Mhm.
it is a little
Yeah.
bit of a mix of both. But I mean, what a game! That was probably the most exciting game of the season. Not just
Oh
because it's
yeah.
the playoffs, not just because, um, even more so than the Buffalo Bills game because it was the most complete game we played all season long.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the first game that we literally like handled a team. Like
It was the first
we
blowout.
Yeah, first
Yeah, the
blowout.
first blowout, like, and a good team, even though the Vikings, we all knew that was kind of fugazi, but a good team, we like handled a really good team. I think that was super impressive.
Yeah, man.
and one of the, so like I said, I'm probably a little bit less excited about the offensive performance because we did put up less than 300 yards. We did score 20 points on offense because we had that defensive touchdown, and that's with 2 turnovers. There's some stuff to clean up. I did love. I mean, but look, the game plan was on point.
Yeah.
The really, it was just no one. Is anyone on offense like play a great game, or was it just good, like decent all around?
That's an interesting point.
Tyler,
Yeah, no.
Tyler
I
Higbee.
would say it was
Right.
just
Oh yeah,
Higbee.
Higbee before he went out. Yeah.
they got
He
the
was doing
job
great.
done. I would say that.
Oh
They
no,
got the
then I'm
job
not. I'm not even debating that. But like Kyron had 76 yards. He was kind of iffy. He
No.
fumbled.
I think you're exactly right.
Puka
No,
had
no,
44. I mean, no one
had a great
dominated
game.
except
I mean,
for
that's what
for the O line, which is
That's
what
what
we,
I'm
we,
saying,
we
though,
always talk
right?
about the
O-line
trenches.
was great again.
Great.
That's what I'm saying, though, right? When I'm saying like get the job done, everyone just did just enough. Like,
Which I
it wasn't
prefer,
any-
by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
about you guys,
It's not a bad thing.
but I
Yeah.
prefer winning a game with no one being a superstar than losing games with one person having 180 yards receiving and no one else getting catches. Like,
In the playoffs especially, I
Yeah,
wanted to be
playoffs.
like
Who gives a damn
So,
about if the
let's-
receiver has 150
Right.
yards?
we'll show you what we're talking about here. But
Yeah.
like Stafford, okay game. He like we kind of talked about. He wasn't asked to do a lot, so for what he was asked to do, he did fine.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, he had like one tremendous throw to Higbee in the first drive, and then he had like a handful of decent throws. He didn't have like a series of incredible throws. He had like one great throw to Higbee in the first drive, and then he had several really good throws and kind of standard stuff. And then Kyron, really nothing spectacular. No one receiving wise was great. I mean, Tyler was great because he only played like a half, really. In fact, Tyler probably would have broke 100 yards. I'll tell you why, because Hunter Long dropped a freaking 30-yard pass. That was a dime.
That was frustrating. Yeah.
So
Tyler's catching.
if Tyler plays instead of Davis Allen, Hunter Long, and Colby, he probably puts up a hundo easy.
I mean, our rest of our tight ends combined for 40 yards for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and
He's
Tyler
easily
would have
gonna
done
go.
more because they all.
Yeah.
Tyler's playing the best he's played in years, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's an exaggeration.
No, I agree.
It isn't. It isn't. It's
He plays super well, bro.
It's mainly because he's been healthy for the first time in forever. Ethan was talking about this, before we started the pod. Like, this is the first time like he's actually had time to rest and not have surgery, and it shows in his play. Like you said, the Hunter Long play, Higbee's a phenomenal contested catch. Tight end. That is probably his best attribute, is that he's great at those contested catches. And we were missing that in our offense, man. Like, as a red zone threat, we struggled in the red zone the entire year. I felt like, Higbee being back helps us to a degree. Also, I just want to quickly speak on Stafford. One thing I am happy about is that there were no turnover-worthy plays.
Yep.
That's something that I asked for Stafford this game was, if Stafford can just play a clean game, not do a lot, stick to the game plan, we'll win.
Well,
that's exactly what
and
happened.
you know where it shows out clearly is in the targets. Puka had 9 targets, which is what he's going to do. He's going to focus on a guy. But besides that, the targets were actually, he had 5, 7, 9, 11 targets at tight ends, which a lot of those were dump offs, and then 3 to the running back. So he far and away passed tight ends and running backs more than receivers, which leads you to understand that, especially with the heavy blitzing, that Stafford was intelligently, correctly taking the dump off options. And some of those, by the way, were also design plays, which is where you give a nod to Sean McVay. We ran one of my favorite plays that Sean has in his repertoire, which is where we do a play action roll out to the right. And everyone goes, because we run this levels concept, right? We run this play a lot when we do play action to the right. It's a levels concept where there's a short out route, there's a medium out route, and there's a deep out route. And so it's one of Sean's most productive plays that he has. So there's a disguised one where it's levels, but instead of the tight end running the shallow out, he actually stops right in the middle, and then Sean throws it across his body. to him. We did that like twice, 2 or 3 times last night, and it worked every time.
And we did that to Kyron too on that touchdown.
Yes,
it was
we did the
basically
same thing to
exactly what you
Kyron.
just said. Yeah, and it worked. He was wide open.
That was
beautiful.
a really good play action delayed leak by Kyron, and
Beautiful
I mean,
play
there was no one within 10 yards of him in any
Yeah.
direction. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
In fact, Eli and Peyton Manning were talking about what a phenomenal play design that is, because first you get everyone running to the right because of the play action. Then Kyron gets into a pass blocking set, and then he leaks, and by that time everyone's assigned to something. And it was like, how do you even defend that if you don't have a spy or someone who's just sitting there? And because what it was man, and it was just great. Sean was in his bag, especially in the first half. Second half, we were kind of just running the clock out for like the entire second half, which we can debate
hilarious.
that. We can debate that all we want. Luckily for us, Kevin O'Connell also decided to run the clock out.
Kevin O'Connell's game plan in the second half was one of the worst game plans I've seen in a long time.
He ran in the second
That was
half more
awful,
than he
man.
did in the first half, even though they were
It's
down 20 points.
I was mentioning this in the Discord yesterday. I think his reasoning was, and this is obviously a stupid reasoning, but what I think his reasoning was is that he was scared of Sam Darnold, dropping back every play. Of throwing a turnover, basically throwing a pick or fumbling the ball. I think that's what it was. That's why he was running the ball. It's a stupid reasoning because you're down 2-3 scores and you have to score quickly.
But you know what it is? It's you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't.
Yeah.
He might have thought his best chance at an explosive was the run game, which is just a testament to how well we were playing in both the pass rush and the secondary. And they did have a pretty big explosive in the run game here or there.
It's hard to say what you do if you see piss running down your quarterback's leg every play. Like, how do you trust that to be like? Because he wasn't just like getting pressured and discombobulated. He started seeing ghosts again. He was panicking when no one was near him. Like Darnold was absolutely crapping the bed. It was bad.
The pick that he threw, he wasn't even getting pressured.
No, he got his arm got hit.
Oh, his arm. Oh yeah.
His arm on the follow through hit the helmet of his lineman.
He still panicked.
It didn't look like pressure, but it was someone like who shoved someone into the quarterback at the last second. Yeah.
He had Naylor wide open in the middle of the field from what I remember. And he just missed it.
Remember we were talking about that when we were discussing the Lions game, is that when he gets panicked, he starts missing even wide open guys. He doesn't even see them. And that's exactly what happened. So let's dive into the specifics here. Offensive takeaways. I mean, the biggest takeaway for me, again, and I don't ever bore or get sick of saying this, is the offensive line. I mean, they were great. They were great. Kyron ran through some massive holes last night, and they. Let me pull up this stat that OJ provided. They blitzed 69% of the dropbacks, highest percentage of any team this season.
I saw that earlier.
Only pressured on 34 points. Now, some of the credit of this has to go to Stafford and McVay for dialing up that fast passing, fast decision making offense, but a lot of it has to go to they did a great job picking up blitzes, and guys like Kyron and the tight ends who did a good job of picking up and chipping, and we were just doing what we had to do to give time. The play actions were really successful, which is mind-boggling because it's almost like the Vikings were more concerned with the run. I guess that's maybe a what do you call it when you take a medicine and there's like a complication for the medicine? Not a
placebo. Oh, never mind.
No, placebo. You're talking about no, I know what you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank, but I'm talking about like a side effect. Side effect. So one of the side effects from so I think one of the side effects from being a team that blitzes nonstop is that you're terrified of getting gashed in the run game. So they were heavily falling, because I'm thinking, why would you pay more attention to Kyron Williams over the pass game? But I guess that's a side effect of that whole heavy blitz package, is that you're always afraid of getting, because if you blitz 8 guys and the running back makes it into the second level, he only has at max 3 guys to avoid and get a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I think that was a mistake.
And our passing offense hasn't been good the last few weeks too. So that's I'm sure that's part of it.
But they were falling for we were play actioning all night and they were falling for it. Like the Manning cast kept showing it, like the whole second level, the safeties, linebackers were all veering to the play action side, leaving wide open. And then when Sean had him running, because he kept doing play actions and hitting guys, then they switched it. He did play actions and then threw the opposite direction. Like, dude, they were like, Sean and Stafford were both in their bag, man.
Yeah,
bro, they had some stuff. Man. I think that speaking of Tyler Higbee again, another reason why the offense just looked so smooth at certain times when it was on fire is because having a tight end that's an actual good tight end and being able to use him instead of always having to lock on your receivers, I think that just gave us an extra, like a just an extra layer of offense that we
Yeah,
didn't have before, just because we were playing with awful tight ends. So adding Tyler Higbee in there, that just added something extra, bro, and it made our offense just that much better, and it just looked
100%.
it looked great.
Yeah, 100%.
It does beg to have some questions raised about what we do with the tight end position next year, because having a dynamic tight end
Absolutely.
changes a lot.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
other points about the offense before we move on to the defensive side of the football?
There's one
No,
thing I wanted to bring up
okay.
quickly. This is just probably my main negative, and I'll go more in depth on it and when we go into stock up, stock down. But just no involvement of Jordan Whittington, and I was kind of disappointed with
Ah,
that.
yeah. Yeah.
He got
That's a good
like
point. Yeah.
only like a couple of snaps from what I checked, and just no involvement, man. I really wanted to see like how we would use him like in the screen game, try to get
Yeah.
the ball in his hands after the catch, because he's a great player after the catch. I actually have like a quick stat. Um, hold up, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, while you're looking, especially after the Seattle game, man. Like
Yeah.
we had just come off a week where Jordan Whittington looked great. I thought they would use him a bit
And
more.
D Rob was basically a non-factor, and I
Not
understand
Again,
that D Rob is
yeah.
good
One
for
catch.
one, but like, let's just be real. Any of our receivers, including Xavier Smith, can run that route and catch that wide open pass. I mean,
Yeah.
he sat in the soft. I guess if you want to give him credit for it, but I have no doubt in my mind Jordan Whittington makes that play, and then I have no doubt in my mind that Jordan Whittington makes several other plays that D Rob
Yeah.
didn't make. So it's just not. It just ain't worth it to play him so much.
Okay, yeah. So the stat is basically, I know it's a small sample size, but basically what it is Jordan Whittington's 16th in the league in yards per route run. So
Oh wow.
just
16th in the league. Wow.
yeah, 16th in the league in yards per hour. And people say, yeah, it's a small sample size, but I mean, that just shows like the talented player that he is. I speak of like how good he is, after, the catch, but he's also a great route runner as well. I mean, he was like this at,
Yeah.
Texas.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say that would be the only negative. Besides that, I was happy with the game plan. This is exactly what I've been asking for, the entire season, basically.
Yeah.
Oh,
I agree.
and before we move on, I do want to say 'cause I know we a couple times in the other podcasts we forget sometimes, but shout out Joshua Cardi.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think he made 2 field goals, and I think they said 16 in a row. He's made 16 field goals in a row, 15 or 16, something like that. He's made in a row.
He's a
And
beast.
shout out
Oh,
Cardi, man. He
Yeah.
he bounced back after starting a little slow, and he's been
what's
he's
the
been
opposite
amazing.
of a shout out? A call out?
Yeah,
I,
shout out.
Before we move on, we have to call out Kyron Fumbles Williams.
Oh man.
You
Yeah.
know what?
Oh yeah.
Terrible
When he-
fumble,
100%.
and then a second
Oh.
play that looked a little
That
sus.
could have been a fumble.
That could have
Very
been a
close.
fumble. Even if he didn't fumble it, he was not holding on to the ball well.
He wasn't holding. Yeah.
I mean, this is
That's
becoming a
that's an
problem.
actual issue.
We're
Yeah.
so lucky because I want to say that only 1 or 2 of his 6 fumbles now have been recovered by the defense. We had Puka and Cup and O linemen who have been on the ball, on the money as far as jumping on those balls immediately. Last night it was Puka who just immediately dove on that
Yeah,
ball,
thank
but
God Book was there, man.
we gotta stop with this. And I mean, that's the kind of play that costs you a game. Like seriously.
Bro, if we turn the ball over against Philadelphia, that would
Yeah,
destroy
it's
you.
Oh yeah,
over.
of course.
Yeah.
That's
It's
one thing I was gonna say later on. We cannot turn the ball over.
It's one thing when your quarterback gets blindsided and drops the ball, or gets hit while he throws and throws an interception, or even just throws a pick, because that stuff's going to happen, right? But you can't have your running back, the guy whose main job is to run the ball and protect it, fumbling 6 times in the season. Like, this is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
He led the league in fumbles during the regular season, and now he had one in the first playoff game.
Right.
I don't want to see Kyron back in horns next year. I know he's our only option at this point, but like, let's just be real. If you're not going to be Saquon Barkley, you have no business fumbling the ball this often. You just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I had just a couple other things for offensive takeaways before we move on. First, something we didn't talk about is this team has been known to have very slow starts. All season we've been talking about it. First quarter, not scoring any points, starting slow. So that was obviously huge. And just related point about Stafford is I basically feel the same way that all of you guys feel is that I think he played fine. I don't think he played like very well, but I will say him coming out and playing well immediately
Yeah.
was huge. To get
Tone
that
setting.
lead and to kind of just put out of our mind of like, oh, here we go again, another half of slow start on the offense. I think it just set the tone right away, and also it lets the pass rush do their thing when you have that lead right away.
Yeah.
So I just credit Stafford that he came out slinging like he played a great just to come out the gate, and that was huge.
And to that point, I don't
I
know.
agree.
It's impossible to really tell the equivalency, but like we were in voice. I think several of us were in voice. Maybe 5 of us were in voice, and we mentioned basically that first drive on defense. The defense looked so amped up and so juiced up. Like they were so ready to go. And I do wonder if like there is a part of that that goes, oh, our offense scored on the first drive. They were ready to go. We got to bring it. Like I do wonder after a season of struggling in the first drive in the first quarter on offense, if the defense wasn't just like, oh, it's on now.
Yeah, exactly. And bro, to that point too, this is something that we should have mentioned too, is like saying the obvious, but man, the atmosphere and the scene of that game going in, like obviously, I'm turning on the broadcast and they're showing like the pictures of the wildfires and all the smoke. Then Sean McVay comes out in the LAFD t-shirt, Los Angeles Fire Department, like, bro, that was such a cool scene. And then exactly to then have that, like all that build up and the drama with the fires and all that, and to like start fast, then exactly like you said, I think it was just like it was over from there. Like it was those first two, offensive touchdown first drive, and then I don't know if it was a 3 and out, but it was a quick stop first defensive series.
It was a 3
like
and out.
Yeah, was it a 3 and out? Yeah, I mean, bro, that was so awesome, man. Just the way that you could see the energy, the energy. It sounds like kind of cliche, but like you could see how motivated they were from just instantly on both sides of the ball. It was so cool to see.
It's interesting because it is a difficult situation that we were put in. And there's kind of 2 ways that you go, right? Is you either go, okay, we missed a day of practicing. We're also traveling when we shouldn't have been traveling, unexpectedly traveling. So there is this like level where you go, this could tire your team out. It could have them underprepared. But one of the things that the Rams do is we draft guys with a certain kind of attitude and a certain kind of personality. So the opposite effect of the situation, which was difficult, is that, and we see it all season long, right? Whenever things get the hardest, these guys get the most amped up. It's like they thrive on adversity. Whenever something gets harder, they get
100%.
more energy, and that seems to be exactly how they handled this. It's
man,
almost like they took the fires personally.
You got me hyped. You got me hyped. You got me hyped up, man. With those
man.
words, you got me hyped up when we get on the field.
I hope the mic'd up his verse, bro, because he was talking some smack, man. The entire game.
And to what you said, I just give so much of that credit to Sean McVay.
Of course.
I mean, the way that Sean McVay had these guys ready to play, and just all week long, he just kept saying no excuses. Like they tried to ask him about, practice, and did you guys miss today? And it's just no excuses. And
there's a reason.
That's Sean McVay's DNA all over that team.
There's a reason he's a top 2 coach in the league, man. Yeah, because of how he prepares his teams.
I give Les some credit too, because Les, every time you watch Les draft a guy, he goes, "That's the kind of person we wanted to draft." Right. The kind of people that we like to draft are those people that thrive in adversity. And you know what's funny is you can oftentimes see it in the game, right? Like in their film. We talked about this at length when we watched Verse and Fisk film. It's like if their first pass rush move doesn't work, they just double their energy and their power. Like they seem their motor is off the charts. You see a guy like Puka, by the way, who would like. That was one of the things is when when things get physical, when they get harder, when Puka's not wide open all game long, he just gets more physical, more energized, more amped up after the run. Like there's this like energy and
edge.
Yeah, that happens whenever things get harder, whenever they get more physical, whenever they get tougher, that they just step up to the next level. And I want to make sure Les gets props for that too, because he's constantly talking about the kind of people they want to draft, and it shows up in situations exactly like this.
You got to give Matthew Stafford too, because Matthew has that same DNA, man. He'd take 1,000 hits and he'd still get up and throw the ball, man. So I think the whole team just has it in.
Yeah,
100%.
I mean that's props to the org, man. We built like a culture, man, a great culture.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Love this team, man. I love this team.
Defensive take, because to be honest, like to be totally transparent real quick on that point is like I can name you at least 20 teams that fold in this exact scenario.
100%.
You can tell
Yeah,
by
100%,
watching them
man.
play, by hearing them talk. And I don't want to be like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like we've heard nothing but malcontent nonsense about the Colts, right? Anthony Richardson has to go out in the middle of a game because he's feeling tired. Jonathan Taylor have been complaining for like the last 6 weeks. There's been stuff about the general managers, the coaches. Like there's certain teams.
Zaire Franklin on
Yeah,
the podcast
they've been
crying on the podcast
fighting
all
and
the time.
crying and complaining and all this bad attitude stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see that from the Rams. There's a whole litany of franchises that they're just constant complaining and whining about things, and the Rams just every time they get kicked. I hate to use a Detroit Lions metaphor, but every time they get knocked down, like Dan Campbell was talking about, they come up again and they're ready to fight. It's like a Rocky thing. The more they get punched, the more the juice they get, and you love to root for a team like that. It's as a fan, it's so energizing to see a team that just every time they get bloodied up, they're doubling down. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
defensive takeaways. First of all, this is important to start off with because I think we're all going to be in agreement on this point, and I think it needs to be said. The people who are in charge of voting for awards are clowns. The notion or idea that Jalen Carter deserved to be an All-Pro over Kobe Turner is laughable. It's not explained statistically. It's not explained by watching film. It's not explained by analytics. It's only explained by people who go, yes. Oh, well, Jalen Carter was drafted in the first round.
Yeah,
it's a popularity vote. That's what it is. I mean, y'all know if you were in the what's called The Voice last night when we were watching the game, I was vividly upset. I was discussing it because Kobe was having such a great start to the game. I was like, how did Jalen Carter get an All-Pro above Kobe? And look, if we want to speak about stats, I think a couple of weeks ago,
it's not close.
Yeah, we debunked that.
We went into depth in it, so I don't want to go in depth into it again, but we already discussed this. Kobe Turner, simple enough, had the better season. Yeah. So if you want to talk about stats, there you go. Those are the stats. If you don't believe me, yeah. But like we said, I mean, it's same thing. Pro Bowl, All Pro. It's all subjective, voting. That's what it is at the end of the day.
Wait. You know what?
It's stupid, bro. It's stupid.
I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so y'all can see this. But look, the stats aren't comparable. I mean,
yeah, it's not.
Doubled his sack total, more tackles, and then if you really want to be specific,
that's crazy, man.
Like even in the run defense, we know how good Kobe, and Kobe ate a lot more double teams as well. The double team,
Kobe has
13 hits, 10 tackles for loss.
Team rates in the league.
Yes, he's top 5 in double teams. 12 tackles for loss. So really, the hits and the tackles are almost the same. More sacks, like it's to me, they both have pass deflections, forced fumbles. I just think it's nonsense. In fact, missed tackles rate 4.6. Jalen Carter 17.6. He's quadruple the amount of missed tackles percentage wise. I mean, get out of my face with that nonsense. There's no, and you watch the film, like I said, double team rates, Kobe blows them out of the water in double team rates. It's just inexplicable. It's disrespectful. And I do want to say one more thing about it too, because there's something about we've been blessed and we've been spoiled with Aaron Donald, who was a one-man wrecking crew. Now what we've got going on is this unbelievable cohesion on the defensive line, and we're one good piece away from having it be a 5-piece meal, right? We've been talking about the fearsome foursome, and now we're one nose tackle away from having a 5-piece. And one of the plays that highlight actually really was repeatedly Kobe Turner's 2 of his sacks. Really, I think, yeah, 2 of his sacks were totally opened up by another person. How many of the sacks opened up yesterday were because the quarterback was running from Jared Verse? Verse dominated. He had a lot of pressures. Didn't have any sacks, but he opened up several. There was one play in particular, though, that made me giggle and made me like giddy like a little schoolgirl, was the one stunt sack that Kobe had. Remember where he came around in the stunt and got a clean sack? I watched that again, and Braden Fisk took out 4 guys on that play. In fact, I'm gonna let you guys talk. I actually want to find that play and play it because it was so sick.
You know what? And something it's another sick play. This is late in the fourth quarter, by the way, which shows you how crazy Jared Verse is athletically. He got I think he got a pressure. He didn't get the sack or anything like that, but he was going against the right tackle, and he bull rushed him and literally lifted him up in the air and threw him on the ground. And this is late in the fourth quarter, where usually players tired and they're not super physical at that time. Jared Verse still is crazy.
You
physical
boys
game.
ready for this?
Yep.
So so Turner's right
This-
here
this-
and Fisk is right here. Keep your eye on Fisk because Turner's gonna get the sack. But look, I'm not kidding you. 4 guys Fisk draws out of the play on this game. On this,
This is second quarter.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
Oh yeah, I see it.
4
That's
guys,
crazy.
and you can't see it, but Fisk has actually hooked the center's arm or the left guard's arm, and he's pulling him along. That's why you can kind of see it when it gets to this point where you're seeing right here. You see his arm is stuck there where Fisk is at, and then Kobe has a clean shot. So Fisk takes 4 guys out of the equation on that play. It's just like,
Wow.
but this is what when you watch the Rams pass rush and the sacks and stuff, it's constant. You're constantly seeing one guy open the door for another guy. There's we've been watching Aaron Donald for so long, just single-handedly blowing everything up. But this is like an interesting and dynamic, cohesive unit that's working as one to create opportunities for each other. Dude, it's actually so fun to watch.
And it's very unselfish because if you're Braden Fisk on that snap, you know you're not going to get the sack and you're not going to add anything to your stats. Your job is to just set it up for someone else, and they've been doing that for each other all season.
Dude. Yeah, it's a bunch of young guys that are talented, but not just that, they play hard and they play for each other, man. Like you can tell, like when you look in the locker room and the post-game speeches, they're a tight-knit group. They're always celebrating with each other, they're hanging out with each other, and I love it, man.
Did you see Verse's joke after the game when in his press conference? He said, "Man, they had a sack party and no one invited me."
True. He didn't get one. Huh?
But he doesn't care.
He
exactly. Yeah.
I checked the stats quickly. He had I think 8 pressures.
Yeah.
Yep. That sounds about right. He was very impactful. Obviously.
You know what they should do? They should
had a huge impact even if he didn't have sacks.
They should. PFF, if you're listening, you can send me a check in the mail. But they should invent a stat that basically says how many sacks where you had like the guy had an opening pressure that then led to a sack. Because Verse would be great in this stat because oftentimes he's the first to pressure the quarterback, and in the quarterback evading his pressure, he then gets sacked by someone else. That's a stat worth tracking because there's a lot of guys in the NFL who do that. And even though Verse isn't piling up sacks, he's creating a lot for his teammates.
Yep.
Wow, we're talking about Braden Fisk, Braden Fitzgerald, Verse, Kobe Turner, but some two other guys are really great, and they both had a sack and a half. Was Gallimore and Byron Young, bro? They both had good games, and we know about Byron Young. We know how solid he is, but Gallimore to me is very interesting. How he's coming on pretty late. He's a big guy. He stops the run and stuff, but he's given like the rotation a lot of juice. But he's a nice player, man. And
agreed.
I really like him. He's a a decent average rotation guy, and he showed up big time. And
he actually was
that.
on
He had a good game.
He actually was on the Cowboys roster in the year because I followed them as well, but they released him, right, and I actually kind of searched him up a bit. And I saw this guy, I watched some of his film, quickly some clips. I'm like, oh, this guy has some juice. Maybe if we use him, he could be impactful. We seen that in the Seattle game. He was impactful in back-to-back weeks, and that's gonna actually speak into my stock up, stock downs. And it's actually something I actually like. Remember we talked about Troy Reader, addition by subtraction?
Yeah,
I'm seeing a similar way. We're seeing a similar thing now, I think, with the nose tackle positions. Addition by subtraction with Tyler Davis and Gallimore getting more play time.
Hey, who's been talking about
Bobby
this?
Brown? Yeah,
who's been talking about this all season long? Oh, yeah,
all of us.
Yeah, I've been harping on that Bobby Brown.
You hate Bobby Brown.
It's exactly the same situation as Troy Reader, and it's one of those things where it's hard for I don't say the average person, but it's hard to grasp how negatively someone can be affecting the players around them completely until they are removed from the game and you see someone else who's competent play that position. Like we knew Troy Reader was bad, but we didn't know the negative effects he was having on Christian Rosewoom and the safeties and others around him until he was removed, and then a more competent player took his place. And the same thing can be said here. I mean, how long has Bobby Brown, this was his first game that he's missed, but he's been losing snaps for the last 5 or 6 weeks. And Gallimore and Tyler Davis have been playing more.
Bobby Brown played. He only played like 12 snaps.
Yeah, but his snap count has been getting greatly reduced for a while now.
Yeah,
and the more it's been getting reduced, the more juicy that D line has looked, because Gallimore and Tyler Davis are going to get double teamed more often. They're also going to get more solo
Yep.
pressure. Like they're going to make you pay when you make mistakes. So couldn't agree more. And Gallimore is good enough for now. I would definitely love to upgrade that nose tackle position. I would.
Oh, absolutely.
Now the one caveat is I actually believe that Tyler Davis can be a legit, not a superstar, but he could be a legit starting nose tackle, a guy that can at least demand a double team with some regularity.
Yep. He has that potential.
That's a great call out.
We don't even need a superstar as a nose tackle. We already
Right,
have
right.
a superstar.
You know what's interesting though? Switching
Greg
gears.
Gaines, come on home, buddy.
The MVP on defense was not on the D line. The MVP of the defense was definitely Kobe Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sack, interception, and he was playing great press man defense all night. In fact, do you, OJ, do you have the catches given up and all that stuff?
Yeah, let me quickly.
I want to say Kobe didn't give up more than just a couple of catches for a couple of yards. Kalo got beat for a couple long passes. Roseboom was getting picked on like nobody's business.
So Durant only allowed 1 catch for 7 yards.
And he
was
playing
phenomenal.
He was playing press man on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison all night long. And yes, he was getting bracketed help. There's no debate about that, right? He was constantly being only asked to cover for so long, but he did it well. That's what we wanted him to do.
Witherspoon had a similar game as well. He allowed 2 catches on 3 targets for 8 yards. So both of them had great games.
Oh, well, there was there was a deep ball.
I know what you're talking about.
They gave it to Roseboom.
They gave that to Roseboom because I was thinking about that because I remember that play he gave up to Justin Jefferson.
I think that was more Witherspoon's fault because there was no one on the perimeter. And Roseboom had 2 guys nearby, but Roseboom's.
Speaking of Roseboom, he was targeted 10 times and allowed 85 yards and a touchdown. That is awful.
Smart by the Vikings. That was maybe the only smart thing they did. Yeah, man. I just want to just circle back to what you said at the beginning, Ethan. That with this man coverage thing has me seriously excited and interested because we might have just found out 18, 19 weeks into the season that this is what suits all of our DBs much better because across the board, every single defensive back played way better. And it's going to be really interesting to see because, look, if you can do that to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, you can have success against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
100%.
Another great receiving core, but I think Jefferson and Addison are better. I don't think that's a hot take. I think it's if you did it once, you can do it again. Now I don't know if that'll be the game plan, and maybe we can talk about whether it should be. But that's actually like the biggest reason for me to be like, oh wait, it might be different this time around because we might have found something different defensively that's going to be a lot better for us.
To me, bro, I think I don't know if you guys agree or not, but it's like just going back to the Vikings game a little bit. I think that was almost a flawless performance by the defense. Like
pretty
I
much
didn't really see it too many. Only negative you can say was Roseboom. We just mentioned that he got smoked, but other than that, it was almost flawless. Everybody played well. The game plan was solid. It was
Can I make a suggestion? I know that Chris Shula watches the podcast now, so Shula, I want to make a suggestion. Since we know that Quentin Lake is not going to lose any snaps because he's the green dot now, I'm not even playing. There's 2 options I'll give you. Number 1, take out Christian Roseboom and put And in that spot.
Yeah.
and then who takes Curl's spot is John Johnson III. Or you can just make it simpler and you take out Roseboom and put John Johnson in that spot.
I mentioned this before of Curl playing that sub linebacker role because he is a box-to-box DB and that's where he thrives.
Can do it. He can do it.
Play that, yeah.
He could do it better than Roseboom. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Roseboom is you're talking about, the one like bad spot, if there is any, it's Roseboom. He was bad on both the run game. In fact, the one big run by Cam Akers, if I'm remembering correctly, was his responsibility that he blew.
He got smoked by a blocker.
Roseboom is just he's a weakness, and I'm not even being facetious. I would put Curl in his spot and put John Johnson in Curl's spot without hesitation.
I do not.
No, and if you think that sounds like insane, like teams have done this. Like Mark Barron, we did this with Mark Barron. Jamal Adams was used this way. Landon Collins, I think, was used this way. Like it happens, and it makes sense for Cam Curl to be in that role.
I wanted to mention that Roseboom stat as well because I've noticed a lot of Rams fans have been saying he's been playing at a Pro Bowl level since Spates has been.
That's nonsense.
He's not been playing at Pro Bowl level. He's just been playing more
Less
like,
bad since Troy Reader was out.
I guess less bad than Troy Reader, but even then, like once we saw this game, he got exposed. But yeah.
No, but just overall, like Joe, like what you're saying, just an amazing job by the defense. 9 points, and I just don't want to go too far with the whole Sam Darnold, like because I feel like I always do this after a Rams win. I'll go on see what people are saying, go on Twitter, go on ESPN, and the story is just all Sam Darnold. Oh, he's
Sam
horrible.
Darnold, Sam
And
Darnold.
you know what?
That's always a story,
He, to
unfortunately.
be honest, yeah, he is kind of bad. He showed
Yeah.
he kind of exposed himself. But I think Ethan, you said this. Obviously, credit us one for doing that, for making him look bad, and having him shaken. But two, look, 9 points. You can say Sam Darnold isn't as good as people thought, whatever. But that's a good offense. They won 14 games. You don't accidentally win 14 games.
Sure.
Like you can't look at their personnel, look at their coach. That is a good offense any way you shake it, and great performance. 9 points.
You know what? I'm kind of the king of guys who come in and downplay our defensive performances because the quarterbacks play bad or something. But the difference is normally I feel like the quarterbacks played bad, even though like our game plan and game calls weren't that good, or our execution wasn't really that good, and there was some luck factor involved. But no, our execution was good, our game plan was good, our play calling was good, and the reason why Darnold plays so badly is because of those reasons. So there's a difference between they had all these opportunities and the guy just blew it, and we really took all the opportunities away, and he didn't have any other options but to get smoked.
You know what?
Right.
That's a good point. If it sort of felt like it finally felt like, I guess we might have had sprinkles throughout the season, but it finally felt like that the defense caused the quarterback to be bad.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't that the quarterback's bad and he just bailed us out because of how bad he was, but it felt like that the effects of our defense caused. The cause, our defense
It
made Sam Darnold
finally
bad.
felt like
Right.
like you said, it finally felt like a complete defensive performance.
Yes.
Like look at the 49ers game, right? In the rain, Purdy was missing balls. There was balls dropped all night long. There wasn't a whole lot game plan wise, scheme wise that we did. They're getting untimely penalties. Like they had like 7 or 8 drop balls. I know it was raining. Purdy was off target all night long. Like they were just shooting themselves in the foot. Even the Jets game, like Rodgers had a really decent game against us, but they couldn't. When they got to the red zone, they froze up. They were getting, they were shooting. This was just a totally different game. Everything that we did was working. Everything that we did was Darnold was seeing ghosts. Why was he seeing ghosts? Because he got sacked 9 times. He got hit like a billion times. Like it was
Right.
It was
scared him straight, that's
execution,
why.
game plan. When all that stuff comes together, so it was just different. And because you guys have heard me on the podcast make that excuse, if that's what you want to call it, of like, oh well, the guy kind of like the offense sucked. Like it's happened a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks. The Cardinals, the Jets, the 49ers were like those offenses just didn't play well.
Yeah.
And we did do some stuff well, but it was also just horrible play. No, this was us just dominating from one whistle to the next.
And those offenses weren't good offenses all year. This is a very good offense. And dude, exactly 9 sacks. Like what for all the people talking about Sam Darnold? What quarterback is going to have a good game being sacked 9 times?
That's
like
tied the NFL record, by the way.
Yeah, it was a playoff record.
That was a record.
Tell me which if Matt Stafford had been sacked 9 times in that
Oh
game,
my
what kind of
goodness.
game do you think he
Yeah.
has? Like we know what kind of
Honestly,
game that is.
Bad. Yeah.
Horrible. It's probably
Throws the ball.
a 3-pick, 175-yard game. if
Okay,
he's
so
getting
The
sacked
only
9 times.
guy that I can remember performing well, being sacked that much, is Joe Burrow.
Joe
But Joe
Burrow.
Burrow is
True.
an elite
I remember
quarterback.
against the Titans, he won that
Yeah.
playoff game. Yeah.
By the way, he also has like some of the best weapons that win one-on-ones, like Jamar
Exactly.
Chase and
Right.
Higgins. So when you pressure that much and you blitz that much, Joe Burrow's got not only the arm and the ability, but also the receivers who can make you pay.
And the confidence as well.
Although Darnold had that, he had the receivers.
No, but the
I
thing
think-
Darnold is too afraid
I
to
think
throw
it's
to Justin Jefferson
Right.
when he's
That's
not
what I'm saying.
open.
Yeah. The difference.
Exactly. What you're saying,
Burrow-
OJ, it's confidence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow is one of the most confident quarterbacks in the league. Like he carries himself like a
And
champ.
it's not being afraid to make mistakes, which
Yep.
we know Darnold is terrified of. But
Yeah.
He held the ball way too long.
So okay,
all night.
so we've
Like,
talked
some of those-
about.
Look at his eyes after
my gosh, dude.
he held the
Man,
ball
bro,
way
he
too long
was-
on a lot of those.
he
Like you
plays.
said,
looked-
he was shook.
He
man.
was sh- he
He
was
When you
shook.
looked into that man's eyes, maybe not physically, but emotionally, he was pissing down his leg. He
It's
looked
like
terrified.
I mentioned this. It was like 80s, like aura or just spirit was just there. Like that's how scared he was.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've given credit to Shula. We've talked about the D line. We talked. Omar Spates, phenomenal. I want to make sure we
Omar
give
Spates,
everyone who
yeah.
deserves
Yeah.
credit. Spates was great.
Kitchens
Kinchens,
as well.
Kinchens was
Kinchens
great.
was really good. Yeah, Kinchens was really good.
JJ3 in limited snaps showed some good stuff. Quentin Lake probably played the best game of his career, even though he still made a couple
Absolutely.
decent mistakes. But it's Quentin Lake, so lower your expectations.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Both corners played well.
Witherspoon was better.
Oh, you know
Witherspoon
who else
better.
was trash?
McCullough was trash.
McCullough was
I forgot to
trash.
mention
Yeah.
him.
Oh, I saw him fall on his face trying to make a tackle.
I have
once
some
or twice.
stats on him. He allowed 6 catches and 6 targets for 50 yards. He's pretty bad. So
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And he
I don't
didn't
really know
play
why
that
he-
much.
I'm not sure why he even really cracks the rotation at this
He
point. I
plays.
think we have
He's
a lot
the
of.
starting sub linebacker.
it's
for our
because he
team.
Yeah, I
had
mean,
4 tipped picks. That's why that shouldn't be the case. I mean, and
hey,
this is to
I
a lot
tr-
of the fans.
I tried to
that's-
warn the fans. I tried to
A
tell
lot of
y'all.
the fans were like, "Oh, McCullough," but we forget that all of his picks were from tip passes. He was just in the right.
If
position
what
at
you're
the right
doing,
time.
if what
Or
you're doing
was.
isn't repeatable,
Yeah.
it's not worth anything. Those are unrepeatable interceptions. All of them were.
Since the Seattle game when he had his last pick, he's been getting torched. Like every game. It's he should be benched.
He should
Besides
be. Because
that,
JJ3 can do everything he's doing 10 times better.
Yeah, I think
I said, why is he cracking the rotation? Like we just have better
I hope
guys.
against Philly we see more of JJ3. Hopefully.
Yep.
Okay, and any other players on defense? I would love. You know what I want to do is
I guess D Will was okay.
one thing
D-Will
I
was okay, yeah.
want to shout out is because we talked about it for the season when we were talking about our concerns for the season and things that we were intrigued to see is losing Eric Henderson was a gut punch because Eric Henderson was a really good D-line coach, and
for sure.
we were all kind of terrified of what was coming after that with whoever got hired, and he's done a tremendous job. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Will Smith.
Yeah, he's done a great.
What D-line coach?
Yeah, the D-line coach.
Yeah. Give Smith. Yeah.
He's done a great job, and you know what he reminds me of? Because it's funny. I kind of want to make a distinction. See what you guys think of it. We had Eric Henderson was kind of like the D-line equivalent to my migraine is making me draw blanks. What's the O-line coach we had before Wendell? That is the Bills.
Cromer?
Yeah, Cromer. Cromer was like
yeah.
a master of getting the most out of each individual piece, right? And I viewed Eric Henderson the same way. But now we have Wendell, who's really a master at getting the most out of the unit. The way they play as a team, the way they play off each other. I kind of liken Henderson and Gibbs Smith the same way, where Henderson got the most out of each individual player like Cromer did. And then Gibbs Smith has these guys playing as a team, as a unit in a way that we've not seen. So it's like totally, both are really good skill sets, but very, very different. And I really appreciate the fact that we've gone from one to the other. And because, some people live in hell when they lose a really good, positional coach and they have trouble finding another one that's really good. We are blessed in the fact that we've gone from one really good at both trench spots, one really good positional coach to another. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, totally agree.
I agree.
And just I guess one more thing I just want to say is I think the player that surprised me the most was probably Akello Witherspoon as far as kind of the improvement. If we talk about like what player played better than I thought, and we talked a lot about just stats wise. Look, this isn't even an opinion of mine. It's just what the information and the stats say, that he normally gets targeted a lot and he normally gives up a lot of yards. And I was telling Joe that was an X factor to me. How is Witherspoon going to hold up? So I was really just pleased with how he played and thought he played a lot better. So I just shout out to him. I want to be fair here, because sometimes we criticize players, and if Kyron Williams next game starts making people miss in the second level, I don't want to weasel my way away from it and say, oh, I've been down on him, so I don't want to. No, credit to Akello Witherspoon, man. He played better. He played a lot better in coverage. Again, I still think it goes back to our scheme. The man kind of press scheme probably fits him a lot better, but still, credit to him.
Not only does it fit him better, but it's also just easier to be good at, because when you have a lot of zone help when you're playing press man and you have a good pass rush, you don't have to guard guys as long. You don't have to cover them as long. So
yeah, especially with that pass rush.
Yeah.
Man.
So
dude, and by the way, that is exactly why it makes so much more sense to play man. By the way, we have a pass rush. So when when you're rushing the passer, but you're giving up soft zone, that doesn't work hand in hand.
Exactly.
This makes so much more sense, man.
Which by the way, we've talked about it a lot this season. How we wanted to see more press man because we have the pass rush.
Because of our pass rush, yeah. And so wait, I want to ask this real quick. Do you guys think we should kind of play the same kind of game plan
100%.
against the Eagles as
what
far
we
as
did against the Eagles last time did not work, at all. So the adjustment is
yep.
The adjustment has to be made.
Zone, and we were sending blitzes.
Look,
that was
if Shula and Sean don't come to the table and say, "Hey, you know what? The Eagles play a different style of ball, but it's the same problem. Ultimately, you're trying to stop the number one receiver and limit him. You're trying to stop the number two guy and limit him. And in fact, you kind of do it in different ways because Devontae Smith and Jordan Addison have different skill sets. But you play press man, you bracket. I don't think they're going to because they're not as confident about the pass rush getting home against the Eagles.
That's a good point. That's actually you're right. That is the O line for the Eagles and the Vikings
we should still mix it in, to be honest. With some blitzes from the corner spot, like Akello and Kobe, like we did last night.
Yeah,
Curl had a couple blitzes. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to try stuff, man. We can't do the same thing we did last time against the Eagles and expect it to go differently.
That's 100%.
So let's go to stock up, stock down. Started offense. I'm gonna stock up the same unit. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stock up Sean McVay. And I'll tell you why. I said it before the game while we were in voice. Joe, you were there. OJ, you were there, and I said it's interesting. It's an interesting chess game, right, between both coordinators because they've already faced each other once this season. So does Sean kind of anticipate that Brian Flores is going to change up his scheme and kind of like try to counter what's coming? Or does he assume Brian Flores is going to do the same thing and he stays with the same thing? And he did, in fact, call the bluff or whatever you want to call it. He basically knew that Brian Flores was going to do the same thing and he had to call the same game, and he did. I mean, the game plans were so similar between the first Vikings game and the second Viking games on the offensive side. So, that's what the coaching's about. It's about trying to figure out what the opponent's going to do and trying to counter it. And to Sean's credit, he basically said, I don't think Brian Flores is going to change his approach, and neither am I because it worked last time. And it worked. Yeah. And Sean now has like two modes of offense. The schemes, it's just like his standard offense, which tends to have a lot of longer developing plays, and this really fast passing offense, which really only affords Stafford time to make one, maybe two reads, and then dump off to a tight end or a running back. And he just said, hey, we're going to the fast passing offense. We're going to put them on their heels all game. We're going to nullify the blitzes. And, to be honest, I don't think Sean likes doing that, but he was willing to. It was the right call, and it definitely won us the game.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I actually had the same thing. I had McVay specifically. I had specifically the game plan for McVay. Like we discussed last week, we needed a quick passing game because of the heavy blitz scheme from Flores. That's exactly what happened. All the quick, outs, play action to help Stafford, avoid the pressure. I mean, it's basically that. I mean, we stick to that. Honestly, I don't think we really changed much against the Eagles, but yeah, that's pretty much my stock of McVay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My stock up is literally the same as that thing. It's
wow.
I'm not gonna use Sean McVay. Yeah, I'm gonna go to my honorable mention, but speak on Sean a little bit. He's amazing, man. He's one of the greatest. I know you said that if he won a Super Bowl, his seat would be warm in Canton. I think his seat is warm in Canton already.
He's already
Hall of Fame.
Oh, if he wins the Super Bowl,
yeah, to me,
it's over.
Yeah, that's just to me. This is a cherry on top. I think his first ballot already. I think it's a stat that was our 8th playoff win. I think that we didn't have one for 31 years before then. Something crazy.
We had the same amount of playoff wins in the last 31 years, which
31 years, yeah,
as we had in just the last 8 years.
And those happened in 2 years, by the way. We made the Super Bowl in back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, and just to see how special Sean is, man, taking this team, winning around, and fighting in the divisional, that's special. But my stock up I'm gonna do is kind of weird, but it's gonna be Cooper Kupp. And the reason why it's Cooper Kupp,
interesting.
I know
that is weird,
bro.
He
had one catch.
Okay,
I know he only had one catch.
This is a cry for help. Call 911. Someone's.
But something I noticed, and I respect it so much, and I had to bring it to the pod, is I was watching him very closely. And one thing Cooper Kupp doing, I always love. Cooper Kupp was going 100% every time he was on the field. He was running every motion as fast as he could. When I was watching the run blocking, that dude was diving. He was blocking. He was doing everything that he possibly could to help the team win. And even though you're not getting the ball, that's one thing I always respect about Cup. But last night, it just somehow, for some reason, just popped off at the screen to me, and I just respected it. So I'm gonna go stock up Cooper Cup.
Cooper Cup is him, by the
Okay.
way. Only target, an
Hey, that's
incredible
Cup, man.
catch. He was open regularly. I think I'm going to give Stafford a break and basically say that the vast majority of our plays have Puka as the number one option. And
Yeah.
we didn't have the time because of all the blitzing to make it to the second and third read. Cooper Cup was the number one read. It's called a hot read. Basically, pre-snap on that play with Cooper Cup coming in motion. They saw it was man. Cooper had a really solid advantage in motion on that guy. So Stafford automatically made him the number one read. That's called a hot read on plays where you're kind of that have like that motion. So when the motion happens, you're allowed to see what kind of coverage they have and if it's beneficial to what you want. So in that scenario, the guy was trailing Cup on motion, and then as soon as the ball was hiked, the safety crept up. So Stafford knew that Cup already had his man beat. The safety was moving out of that position, so Cup was already open as soon as the ball was hiked, Cup was open. So I think on that play, Stafford changed his number one read, did the hot read to Cup. Cup was wide open, beautiful catch on a pretty mediocre throw, for being honest. But
He was actually, I thought the coverage was good on that play. It was like a pretty
well,
contested catch.
yeah, because the ball was really badly underthrown.
Okay.
Peyton Manning on the Manning cast.
Stafford got hit on that play.
Yeah, he got hit. He got hit.
he
That's,
got hit
that's
at the
true.
last
That was the reason the ball was underthrown. But Peyton Manning was like, man, if he had a quarter second earlier to throw that ball, that's a guaranteed touchdown.
It's a
That's a
walk-in.
touchdown.
It's a
Yeah, if he
walk-in.
throws it over the top.
Because
Yeah.
if you notice at the apex of the football, when it was in the air, Cup was just breaking away from the DB, and then he has to adjust and come back to catch the ball because it was underthrown. But yeah, that was a walk.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, man, Cup's just the ultimate professional, and he's a great player, man. And I know he's been getting it, but you know what? The thing about Cooper Cup is that's really promising for me in this playoffs is like Cooper's the kind of guy that could be targeted no more than one or two times a game for 4 games in a row and then drop 180 yards. Like, because he's still the guy that could do that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's a great
he's
one.
definitely not going to like check out or be discouraged that he's not getting targets. He's not that kind of guy. Yeah, for sure. I guess I'm the only one who hasn't gone. For me, Tyler Higbee is my stock up, man.
That's a good one.
And I think
That's a great one.
just based off what I kind of thought of this guy, y'all said it earlier. I think he's playing I mean, it's a very small sample size, but the flashes I've seen, I feel like it's the best I've seen him look in
5 years.
a few years.
Honestly.
Yeah. And it might be the healthiest he's been, because if you guys remember, like a lot of those years, he was playing with an elbow, he was playing with a shoulder, like he was always
a lot of
banged
leg
up.
injuries.
Yeah, legs everywhere. And he led our team in receiving, having only played like what, a quarter and a half. I mean, that's crazy to me. I think he's going to be he's a bigger factor than I thought. Whether he plays next week in Philly, it's actually getting to the point where I'm like, oh, I really care whether he plays or not. Like, I really want him to play.
Yeah.
And we talked about kind of just having Stafford like move the chains and kind of take the easy throws and keep us in good down and distances. Higbee is really good for that specifically too. Just 6-yard hitch, 7-yard out. Those types of routes coming like in from being in line and run after the catch is actually pretty good too. Like Higbee's a bigger asset than I think I gave him credit for. So Tyler Higbee for me.
You know what the side effect for that is though? Is that like we've known our tight ends were bad all season long, but now like we really know how bad they are.
Right, because you just see the difference. Yeah.
It's so stark. The difference is so stark.
It really is.
All right.
Speaking of Higbee, I just want to quickly mention it. Update on him is that he got hospitalized because he was coughing up blood from a chest contusion. McVay said that he should be fine though, so he should be good to go.
Yep, so that's great news.
That's great
really,
news.
Really
all right,
good news.
stock up defense, and I want to leave this one off because I've been romanticizing this player since before the season, since before training camp, and all due to my buddy who pointed him out to me and said this is a guy. But so I've kind of fallen in love with this game, and I've been stocking him up all season long, and I want to stock him up for a specific reason. because he is a UDFA. Talking about Omar Speights. Okay, UDFA. So he's a rookie. Not only is he a rookie, he's an undrafted rookie. Everyone doubted him. He's playing his first playoff game. Biggest moment of his entire life. It's acceptable if he comes out nervous and flat because of the situation, because of being a UDFA, a rookie, etc. Right? It's not surprising. It's not like, oh man, we got to bench this guy. He's not going to be a future piece. No, it's like, okay, I understand. The circumstances are pretty big. But I want to point you guys to the first play of the game. Was a running back, I guess, off tackle run to the right. You guys remember what happened? Omar Speights dodges two blockers to knife through the defense and get a tackle for loss of 1 yard, making the second play from scrimmage for the Vikings a 2nd and 11. And then the second play was a Byron Young sack. So like, you're talking about creating those longer down and distance plays because they may open up things. That first, and again, we were talking about getting off to fast starts on both sides of the ball. That was a huge play because you know what? Aaron Jones was getting to the boundary and it was kind of looking like he might be able to cut up for 3 or 4 yards. So instead of being second and medium, it's now second and extra long. And, you know, just for a guy to come out on like the first playoff play of his career and show no hesitation, no nothing, and just have great instinctual explosiveness on that play. That was so impressive to me. And when we're talking about the hierarchy of the situation, when you're discussing, you know, what kind of a player Omar Speights can be for the Rams in the future, just gets even more exciting. This guy doesn't feel pressure. He's got ice in his veins. If there's a moment when this guy's going to shrink, I think that's the moment, right? And what a dude. Like, what a freaking... No. This is a starting player for us, man. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
All the credit to him, man. Like, it's not easy to do. Like, your first playoff game as a UDFA rookie, you would never expect yourself to be in that situation. And he just exceeded all expectations.
Never.
Yeah. And he has less experience.
That's super impressive.
Even than like a rookie should, because he didn't even start playing till like half the year, man. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't find that play. I hope you guys remember it because it was so exciting.
Are you talking about
the first play of the game?
Yeah, I remember. I was talking about it. Like, he's so good. Like, I just want to quickly just mention, like, he's so good at the point of attack. Like, he's developing, you know, as a, you know, what's it called, in pass protection, but as a run stopper, he's always there. He reads where the running back's going to go, and as soon as the running back hits the hole, he's right there at the point of attack.
Yeah.
And he doesn't allow the running back to get extra yardage as well. He makes a grown man tackle.
He doesn't do the Troy Reader fall back for 3 or 4 extra yards.
Yeah. I think with Omar, he must be a film junkie, man. Because I remember when I first saw this guy in preseason, he looked the thing that I and everyone kept saying was, "Oh, he plays so fast. He plays so fast." And that's true, but the reason why he was playing it looked like he was playing so fast isn't because he's literally like a fast player. It's because he was always in the right spot and his instincts and like diagnosing plays was so good that like it would be like screen pass, he's already there blowing it up. Run play, he's just always in the right spot. Like he must be a huge film guy because like he's just it's his instincts, man. That's like the number one thing for me for him. It's like
Ray Lewis was not a speed demon, but he had the instincts and the ability to read where the running back was his goal and the ability to get at the point of attack and hit the running back at the hole. And that's what a great run stopping linebackers do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he has like the all pro potential. Like, I guess
he reads it well. So...
I guess I'll go next. I'm gonna shout out to this guy. I mean, we already talked about him, but Kobe Durant, man, like what a game, bro. Like, and we nailed. By the way, we nailed this point. We were talking about how Shula needs to use him in a more diverse approach, and he used him in a more diverse approach. I mean, first off, I want to mention, great job, you know, with that play call by Shula, you know, with the blitz and Kobe Durant. You finished it with the sack. I even want to give him more credit for basically blanketing Addison the entire game. Addison had one catch on him for 7 yards. That was it.
He even lined up against Jefferson quite a bit too.
He did a few times.
That's probably why I don't remember it, because Jefferson didn't really do much against him. Like, he basically, like, yes, obviously the bracket was there, and you know, credit to Cam Kitchens as well. He did a great job with the bracket. But Kobe Durant was pretty phenomenal, man.
Yeah, man. I had the same one, so I'll just add a little bit more. You're right, OJ. We were asking for him to be used more, in different ways, and just simply to be used more. Because if you remember during the latter half of the season, they started to actually use Jacoby Durant less.
Yeah.
And we were all saying like we all I like Jacoby, like we were saying it all season, like I like Jacoby Durant. Like I don't know why
He actually
his
got
playing
benched.
yeah, exactly. He got
Yeah.
benched at one point. His playing time was starting to dip. I didn't really understand that. So I'm happy to see that, he's getting playing time, playing so well. I mean, I think you said it, man. Same
For
same
sure,
thing. I
yeah.
mean, he was to me, he was probably our most impressive defensive player that game.
He's our best corner, man. It's pretty obvious.
I don't think
agree.
that's
I
a
agree.
bad take. I think that's a reasonable take, actually, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is crazy because it's shocking, but the way he has played as our best corner all year, to be honest
No,
with you.
I think that's right, because it's like D Will, obviously he's an outside corner. Like Durant couldn't. We all said like Durant couldn't play outside, but for what his role is, like playing more of that slot corner, I think he does do his role better than the other corners.
He's a great nickel, man.
Yeah.
So my stock up, he's an unsung hero of the defense, and I just want to talk about him. I'm gonna go with Byron Young.
Okay. I like
I think he's been super just under the radar this whole season. He's been just super impressive. I know last game he had half a sack, he had 2 tackles for loss. And he was just super impressive, man. He's always just consistently just who he is, consistently good every week. He's not incredible. He doesn't pop off the screen, but he's not bad. He's just always just consistently good. So I'm giving my stock up to Byron Young.
He
like
had 8 pressures, by the way, so he had a great game.
Dude,
Yeah,
he's pretty.
that's
He's
amazing.
consistently been impressing me with how strong he is setting the edge in the run game too.
Yeah.
Like he's really he sets a strong edge in the run game.
He's
a
Jack,
good run defender.
What do they call? He's a
jack of all trades.
Jack of all
Yeah,
trades.
he really is. He's well rounded.
He's also not a master of any of them, but he's
Right,
good at all of them.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's a. I mean, man, I'm not looking forward to that decision when it comes, because I don't want to overpay Byron Young. But if we can get him back for anything less than $10 or $11 million a season, I'm doing it with no hesitation.
Oh yeah, his
that'll be
extension is coming up next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. And
After next season,
if he wants to get paid like a top tier guy in the 18 to 20 million range, we're gonna have to let him go.
Nah,
but
yeah,
we're not.
If we can get him for 12 million a year, ooh, baby, I'm doing that without hesitation.
Yeah.
Because he is
that'll
really
be an interesting decision
solid.
for sure.
And finding a guy who's solid,
I take it, bro. He fits perfectly. I'll take the money. He fits perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's going to give you 18, though.
It's just all on the price tag, because the other side of it is
money, right?
The other side of it is I trust us to draft another guy that's
True.
going to play well too. So it's kind of like at this point the less and the all the drafts, I trust them a lot. So it's like I could go either way with it. Just depends on the price tag.
So before we move on real quick, just to piggyback off that topic. So the guy that you would pay, I'm assuming, would be Jared Verse, though.
Yes.
Yes.
That to me is like not
He's
even
your
negotiable.
superstar.
Like you just pay.
I mean, Jared Verse is going to be a top 3, top 5 paid edges when the time comes. Yes.
Kobe too. Kobe to me is almost. It's almost like blank check. Like what do you like? I'm not letting him walk.
To be honest, I'm paying all 3 of those guys, including Braden Fisk, because the most replaceable one, unfortunately, is Byron Young. Because what you need from Byron Young more than anything from that position is you need a great run stopper, and then a guy who can rush the passer sometimes. You have a dominant pass rusher in Jared Verse. You have a dominant pass rusher in Fisk, and then you have your all-around D tackle in Kobe. The other edge needs to be an all-around guy, but preferably a guy who can stop the run. And those guys are easier to find, and they're less expensive. I'm not paying a premium for a guy whose best attribute is being a good edge setter and a good run stopper. But on the other side, he had 8 sacks his rookie season. He had 7.5 this last season. He's probably going to get paid at least $15+ million. And for that reason, I'm out. I don't say that lightly because I like Byron Young a lot, but you just can't pay a guy.
You can't pay them all.
He's gonna
just too many talented.
He's gonna get If we didn't have Verse and
right, exactly.
That'd be a different story. Is because I know I'm gonna have to pay Verse top dollar. I know him, and honestly, we may have to decide between Kobe and between Young, and it's not even a question for me on that.
It's exactly. Yeah. It's a good problem to have, though. A very good problem to have.
It is. All right, Will, stock up defense.
I said mine, Jacoby Durant.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we all did. I want to give a. I do. We've been talking about him a lot, but I want to make sure he gets another little nugget here. Chris Shula, showing some evolution to his game, even if it's just adapting to what he's seen other people do successfully. He completely transformed our defensive scheme for this game, and that's what good coordinators do. And so props.
I agree.
All right, moving down to stock down. Honestly, on offense, I don't know that there's really. Is there anyone who was just bad?
I don't have anybody.
You know what? I'm gonna just do a quick one. Because the problem is becoming chronic and it's becoming frustrating, and that's just fumbles. I don't even need to say his name.
So Kyron Williams.
That's a good one.
I'm not referring to that man as Kyron Williams. I'm referring to him as fumbles from now on. You know, like Sonic and Tails. He's getting a single name. It's fumbles because that's it.
Okay.
I guess one small thing I'll mention is stock down. You know, obviously we praise McVay, but this is just one thing. You know, personnel decision, not playing Whittington more. I was excited to see him after the Seattle game, and I was disappointed in that, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. But I still want to see him more in the Philly game. But it's just a small little nugget, I guess. Yeah.
To that point, you could stock down to Marcus Robinson probably because he's not going to be back.
Right. I've stocked him down
we've both stocked him down like 3 times.
I don't think I can stock him down. Like it's now like in the negatives. So
I'm just saying he's not going to be a Ram next year. I would be shocked if we re-sign him at this point.
I mean, that's why I don't stock down Kyron Williams because I don't have any stock in him.
I do wonder partly if part of the reason Whittington isn't getting a lot of burn is because we're basically going to run DeMarcus Robinson into the ground before we let him go.
I guess, but I don't think it's the same though.
It's not the same, but it may. But we deal with injuries to our skill positions a lot.
I guess that's true.
Puka,
we'll definitely see a lot of Whittington next year though, for sure.
Maybe there's a thought that like we overplayed Cup early in his career that led to injuries. I don't know. Just a thought. Any you guys got stock downs on offense?
I'm just Kyron Williams, same thing as you. Fumbling too much, man. It's been a trend. In the biggest games, he fumbles.
That's true.
The Eagles, like we said yesterday in the voice, the Eagles are going to be clawing at that ball,
and they're good at it. They're really good at
Sunday whenever we play. They're going to be trying to swing it for that ball. So Kyron has to be on point.
Yeah.
Totally.
Man, listen, hide it tight, man. Just have it high and tight in your chest, bro. They're not going to be able to punch it out.
All right.
Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
Stock down defense. I mean, we already kind of exhausted Roseboom.
I already talked about.
I don't have a stock down on defense.
I already talked about him.
McCullough and
Bobby
Roseboom
Brown
and Bobby Brown. Yeah.
Because it's just
we don't need to like sit on it. I guess.
Yeah, we don't need to say anything else.
It's those three guys. The rest of the defense
it's just the usual. It's the same.
Yeah, it's the usual
literally
suspects.
stock down 10 times.
It's the usual suspects.
Yeah, so it's like there's no one new. Yeah.
Defense was great.
So basically, if you're new to the pod, Christian Roseboom and Bobby Brown, and that's basically how.
Wait, when is Bobby Brown's contract over? Does anyone know?
I think he's a free agent this
year.
Oh my
so that's actually great.
I'm double checking.
Reader,
oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I can't wait.
That's because I saw a post on it and I saw like Rams like upcoming free agents and I saw Bobby Brown at the top of the list. I was like, thank God.
Yeah. Wait, Reader 2. Oh wait, is this a trifecta of joy?
What's Roseboom?
It's the trifecta of joy.
Oh, it is. Roseboom, Reader, and Bobby Brown are all free agents after this year.
Is Noteboom free agent? Please tell me his contract.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my God!
Wait,
man, this might be a huge W offseason, man. I hope so, man. I hope they
OJ, the other episode you were talking about Jake Hummel and you pointed out how he's better in coverage than Roseboom, which I absolutely agree with you on. Just watching that game, I'm just thinking now like all the targets and catches that Roseboom gave up. I mean, if he's asked to cover that much, if that's going to be his role, like I'd rather have Hummel in there too.
This could be an exaggerated take, but I'm telling you, if Hummel was playing that game, he's not giving up 85.
Yeah. No,
there's
no way.
I agree.
He's going to do at least a little bit better, if not.
He's going to be a little bit better.
The one thing I want to caution against is I think I've seen enough from Hummel to kind of like. I don't think he's a starting inside linebacker.
He's not a starter.
No. But I agree. But we're comparing him to Christian.
We're comparing a rotten apple to another slightly less.
I just want to make sure we're not going overboard and being like we have our duo of the future.
No. It's not even about Jake Hummel. It's about
It's
Christian
more about
Roseboom.
Roseboom.
It's just
Because
about Roseboom
I'm
and
doing
how
it.
bad he is in coverage.
You know who I
In
would love to have
reality-
is Ivan Pace. I freaking love that guy.
Oh God,
Ivan
he's so
Pace.
good.
Speaking of
Yeah, man.
Vikings players who played well, he played well.
He was one of the only guys that really brought it.
Yeah.
He was one of my draft crushes.
All right.
And but man, Byron Murphy and Gilmore. Were
Yeah.
good.
All right, guys.
But-
It's time. We talked about the win. We are going
Here we
up
go.
into the divisional round.
we go,
Going to
baby.
Philadelphia. Probably going to be pretty cold, pretty hostile. Let's talk
Pretty
about
loud.
it. Rams
Yeah.
versus Eagles. This one is going to be a whole different monster, as opposed to the Vikings.
I hope.
As opposed to the
Oh,
Vikings.
I thought you meant versus the first time we played them. Never mind. Yeah.
No. I'm just saying, like, as opposed to the
Versus that,
Vikings,
yeah.
there is a lot less to be exploited against the Eagles.
For
the
sure.
The Vikings had
The
some
talent gap
genuine.
is-
They had some genuine weaknesses. The Vikings did that we were able to exploit. The Eagles have some. Well, they have one. The only positional group on the Eagles that's actually bad, I think, is quarterback. And that'll be
Yeah.
somewhat controversial to people like Hurts. I'm not. He's nobody is working with more than Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
Now.
Yep. You're right.
It's a
about
tough
that.
one. What we really need to do, to be honest, and like, what do we say? We have what we said last week, right? Was when you're facing a team for the second time in a single season, the advantage on the game planning, game scheming goes to the better coach, and we have
Yeah.
the better coach. So
Yeah.
there's an advantage to be had there. Now, the one thing I'm hopeful for, Shula, Sean, I know you guys are watching. You can't do the same thing. It didn't work at all. You can't. They're probably going to come out and do the same thing on offense because it worked to a T. They
Right.
obliterated us on defense. We've got to change it up entirely. We got to do something dramatically different. And on offense, to be fair, our offense was actually pretty poor against the Eagles. We had a couple of garbage time, like big drives on garbage time that ended up going to some points.
Yep.
We need to make some severe. If we come out with the same game plan, I'm going to be heavily disappointed. I hope that Shula learned from this game against the Vikings that, hey, switching it up to match up what your opponent does best to kind of counter that is a really smart way to be a coordinator. And we talked about it, but like, it would be really smart to like do the exact same thing. They don't have a similar play style, but they have a similar problem. They have two elite receivers that need to be bracketed and to be taken away. Now the bounce side is can Kobe Durant and Witherspoon defend them long enough, cover them long enough for the pass rush to get home against a much better O-line? Probably not, but it's still a better game plan than soft zone. It just is.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The Eagles ate
Agreed.
that crap up, man.
Yep.
And then there's
That's the most.
obviously
I mean, it wasn't just soft zone. It was soft zone with blitzes, which is probably one of the worst combinations of defense you can possibly have. Because think about it, right? You're sending a blitz, right? But then you're playing off. So basically, all Jalen Hurts has to do is 1 second drop back, dump it off.
Yeah, you're just giving him the quick throw.
there's
You're just
only
giving him a quick
one.
throw.
There's
Yeah.
only one way to make that worse: soft zone, blitzes, and then poor contain, which is what we did in the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you just said is pretty much like the main storyline for me is do we deploy the same strategy scheme, whatever you want to call it, in the secondary with the press man? Shula obviously like has got to be confident now in those DBs that like he had the balls to play press man and it worked. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there.
Can I make it even more simple? Shula, Sean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it even more simple. Devontae Smith doesn't strike fear into me nearly as much as Jordan Addison does. And Saquon.
Okay.
So for the Vikings, their two best weapons are Addison and Justin Jefferson. So we bracketed both of them. The best weapons on the Eagles are actually A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. So my suggestion is bracket A.J. Brown in the exact same way you did Justin Jefferson, and then stack the box. If Devontae Smith beats you, cool. If Zach Ertz beats you, cool. A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley cannot
Dallas
beat
Goedert.
you.
Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Oh, got
Goddard.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let those guys beat you. If Saquon goes for 200, it's a defensive failure. If A.J. Brown goes for 150, it's a defensive failure. Like, seriously, do the same thing you did, but you're going to heavily focus on the two best weapons of the opposing team, which is A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. Stack the box. You got to identify what Saquon likes to do, right? Which, by the way, even if you do, like, Saquon at heart is a one cut back. his favorite thing to do is to find a hole and burst through it because he's got crazy burst. Now, that's not all Saquon does well. He can also make you miss in 30 different ways. He can also truck you. He can also stiff arm you. So you're never really going to stop Saquon Barkley. But to slow Saquon Barkley down, you have to have enough people and then have to have good gap discipline. Right. And to be honest, man, Roseboom sucks balls at gap
I'll be
discipline.
honest with you. This is gonna have to be a huge game from Spates. Like Spates is gonna have to be at the point. Is gonna have to be constantly at the point of attack and just hitting Barkley at the hole because it's really the only chance we have in the run game is Spates because we know Roseman ain't gonna do anything.
How many times have we discussed that? We're like Spates covered the gap that Roseman was supposed to be on and didn't because he sucks. Yeah. So we're gonna need Spates to be playing like Superman, bro.
Yeah, man. The Eagles are a scary team, dude. They have everything on both sides of the ball. Yeah, Nakobe Dean being out is pretty big though. He was a big piece of their defense.
But he's not even their best inside linebacker.
Yeah, but what's Braun? Zach Braun has been
Braun is all pro, and by the way, earned. That guy's actually a freak of nature. I don't know if you guys have looked closely at him. He's better than I thought he was. I was looking at his stats after he got that all pro nod. That guy does everything. Look at this real quick. This is Zach Bond. 151 tackles, 3.5 sacks, pass deflections, 5 forced fumbles, an interception, tackles for loss. I literally mean he does everything. By the way, he only allowed an 80 passer rating. He only missed 5% of his tackles. That guy is an all-around, no weaknesses inside linebacker. He is an absolute stud.
Yeah. He's great, bro. And that's by far the best defense we're going to see. I think they were like second in the league in points given up. They're top 10 in run and rush yards given up. They're top 5 in pass yards given up.
Yeah,
so
I'll pull that up for you guys.
Elite,
second in points for, first in yards, and then I mean lowest pass yards given up, but on the 9th in yards per attempt against the run. I mean, they generally, guys, D-line,
they're elite.
Inside linebackers, secondary, they're good on all levels.
Yeah, and it's their secondary elite, that scares me the most.
It's elite. But like you said, Ethan, two of the, I know we're gonna go a little bit over more, but two of the areas I think are very important that they do lack is I think coaching and I think their quarterback. Those two of the weaknesses of that team, and we have those. We have the quarterback, we have coaching. So I think that's a sneaky area that we could sneak in. Can Sean McVay outcoach the Eagles and put some game plans in and surprise them? Like Matthew Stafford outplayed Jalen Hurts, which he probably should.
So here's one thing that we discussed before the stream started that we were the recording we were discussing is the one. Let me go find this, but the one loss they had this season, like the one legitimate loss they had this season, was actually against the Buccaneers in Week 4. And I'm gonna pull this up, but the Buccaneers were up 24-0. They got off to a you can see it right down here. They were up 24-0. They got off to a crazy fast start by playing hyper aggressive. And I actually really liked one of the things they did was really interesting. Their first drive of the game over here was a 10-play, 5-minute drive where it was just pure grinding football, short passes, short runs, grinding the ball. And then the second drive of the game right here was literally just deep pass, deep pass, deep pass, deep pass, touchdown. There was 4 plays. Mm-hmm. It was 4 passes over 15 yards and 1 run that went for 0 yards. So it was just literally 4 huge passes for touchdowns. So they kind of went grind it, and then they flipped the script and went deep, 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 deep. And they just they just played really aggressive on the first drive of the Eagles. So what you're doing is you're taking Saquon out of and so what's the end result, right? Like why is that important? The end result is you get a game here. Let me go find the here. You get a game here from Saquon, 10 rush attempts, which I'm virtually positive was the lowest he had all season long. Yeah, his lowest of the season. So you're talking about taking the ball out of the best player's hands. If we can get off to a fast, honestly, I'm saying do the same thing. Remember, we were talking about it. Oh, how many rushes did we have in the first 2 drives of this game against the Vikings? Like 1 or 2? Oh, you're muted, Will. Yeah, we had 1.
Yeah, like 1.
Yeah, and so I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to be hyper aggressive. I'm going to try to get on the scoreboard immediately. I'm going to be really aggressive on defense, if we can get ourselves a 10-point lead, we're putting the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands, and then we're just bracketing A.J. Brown. And we've taken Saquon out of the equation a lot because they're coming from behind. I think those are like some of the best things that we can do to
Yeah.
Hey,
mitigate this.
hey, Will, quick question. Me and OJ was talking about it before the pod. What you think about if we win the coin toss? What you think about getting the ball first and trying to get a lead? I know it's risky, but what you think about that?
I that's a really good question because, like Ethan just said, a fast start in this game is more important than probably any game we've played for the reasons you just said. You know, getting a lead
Mhm,
and not taking Saquon out of the equation because they're never going to take
No, no,
him. They're
no.
still going to give
Yeah,
him his carries,
slowing
but
him
it's still
down.
different when we have a lead and we can rush the passer and he's a little bit less of a factor. But dude, to be honest, I always just like deferring. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why. I like
mhm,
getting the ball in the second half, and I think this defense has a lot of momentum. I think put them on. I think I'm okay with I'd choose to put them on the field first and
mhm,
and just go from there. Yeah, I still think
Normally, I
that's
agree. I make an exception for this game. I think the Eagles rarely get punched in the mouth early and fast. I think if we can do what we did against the Vikings, that really
We need to
great
make
first
them
drive.
play off the back foot, basically.
Agreed.
And what is that? That results in Jalen Hurts being a passer, and that's our best chance, to be honest with you. Because in the Tampa game, I checked, he had 30 pass attempts. That's a lot for Jalen Hurts. Like if Jalen Hurts is passing 30
mhm.
time a games, that means you know the defense is doing a damn good job of what's it called? Getting early stops and first down, putting the Eagles in second and third and longs, and forcing Jalen Hurts to make a play down the field. And that's what you want.
Also,
yeah,
I think the to what we were talking about earlier, I believe that the Buccaneers are one of the most aggressive at man coverage, so they kind of destroy
Yeah,
them.
they're a heavy man team. Yeah.
So I that kind of goes to what we were saying about doing the same thing we did against the Vikings, just play man. Trust your brackets because realistically, even if, for example, Kobe Durant gets beat by AJ Brown after 2 seconds of coverage, which is probably going to happen, you got Cam Kitchens there to help out. If Jalen wants to try to fit one between Kobe and Kitchens, and he does, cool, good throw, good catch. But that's probably the best defense we can play, the smartest defense we can
yeah,
play.
yeah.
All right, let's start up offensive versus defense. Take a quick look at the depth charts. Rams are fully healthy on offense, except for the loss of Blake Corum, who didn't get any carries anyway, so not much of a factor. Eagles are healthy, except for they lost to Kobe Dean. It is a big loss, but to be honest, Jeremiah Trotter has looked pretty good in some short time this season. Zach Bond is all pro one inside linebacker. It's not as big of a loss as if it happened to another team. They are pretty well stacked at inside linebacker and at just linebacker in general. So they're
Mhm.
a really good defense, guys. They have every single one of these guys. By the
Yeah,
way, if
they don't have a
if
weakness.
they
And
lose
like
a
I'm just looking
safety,
at this
Yeah.
Sidney
roster.
Brown comes in. I mean, they're deep. Avante Maddox is a backup nickel, guys. That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're 5 deep with good secondary players, man. It's
Bryce
crazy.
Huff is a backup edge rusher. That's crazy, and he's
Yeah,
a great
Bryce Huff
rotational
is a backup
edge
edge
rusher.
rusher. That is that's sick, dudes. That's
Yeah.
so. Anyways, they're
That's a
deep.
crazy team, man.
It
Tyler Osman
is.
did a good job, man.
I mean, look. Let's just be totally real. Talent gap wise, they're a much more talented team than we are.
Yeah.
If we're gonna win this game,
Mhm.
it's gonna be pure coaching and scheme.
Yeah. Can I just ask you guys on this too? Like, just generally speaking, obviously they kicked our ass the first time we played, right? How much better, if at all, like how much better do you feel this time around, or is it kind of the same? Like, what do you guys think?
I would say I have more confidence in Shula because I've seen growth. Even if
Mm-hmm.
it's minimal growth, I've seen the ability to make adjustments in the Vikings game. So I'll say that.
Fair.
It's not a lot of confidence, but it's more confidence. I'll say that.
Okay,
What do you
makes
think,
sense.
Joe?
Me, I'm when we first faced the Eagles, I was pretty nervous just because I know how good they were. And for some reason, I'm probably more nervous just because even though I knew they were good then, for some reason they seem a lot better this time around.
Yeah.
And the only reason, like OJ said, that my confidence is a little bit higher is just because the defense is on fire now and they're playing at a super high level. And I think that that can translate now. Something that could be a key is and I was going to do it in my key takeaway, but I'll just say it now is I've been hearing stuff that it's going to be super cold and it might snow in Philly when we go down there.
That would really not be good for us.
No, that
Probably.
wouldn't be good for
That's
us at all.
bad.
That's not how we want to play.
That's not good. That's not good at all.
us.
You don't
That's
want
not
to.
us.
That's not
That's
good at all.
honestly the worst
So
possible.
You don't want to get into a
Yeah.
That's the
running
worst
competition
possible
against
outcome.
Hurts and Saquon
That's what
Barkley.
they want. They
The
want
LA
that.
boys.
Even though I love our team and we are physical and got heart, but you do not want to play a physical game with the Philadelphia Eagles because they
That's
will
right.
out physical you.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the little nugget. If it's cold and snowing, they are going to run us over.
If it's cold and snowing, we probably lost the game at that point because they're just gonna
Yeah.
head
We play on
down,
Saturday,
run the
right?
ball with Saquon.
Is that-
Sunday.
Sunday
Sunday at 3.
Sunday at 3
So
p.m.
this is ESPN. It looks like rain and cold right now.
Rain?
Okay,
As of
okay,
right now.
that's
No,
At least we have a little bit of experience in some rain
that's
games.
better.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
better than
because
snow.
I seen
for
somebody
sure.
was talking about snowing too.
Bro,
so
but we
I
were
hope it
playing
doesn't
in the
snow.
rain
I
against
hope it doesn't snow.
the 49ers and Isaac Guerrero and not the Philadelphia Eagles and Saquon Barkley, though.
Yeah, no, that actually would be really bad, man. If
Yeah.
there's rain or snow.
I hope
Yeah,
it doesn't rain.
that's not a
Yeah.
game we want to have.
That doesn't play into our
because
hands at
even
all.
if you're like able to neutralize Saquon, then Jalen is just running all over you. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess weather aside, like OJ, like you said, yeah, I think that's the biggest reason for optimism that I could hold on to is just the idea that the defense has grown, improved, and changed and adapted. And then the other thing is, like I said this off air right before we started, is I watched the entire Packers Eagles wildcard game and wasn't that impressed by their offense. And if I don't think they're going to have 2 games like that in a row offensively. But if they do, then we have a chance for sure, man. They didn't look that impressive on offense at all. And by the way,
Will.
yeah.
I was watching I was watching the Eagles because I've been preparing for the game. I was watching the Eagles podcast, and they're pretty sure that that's how their offense is going to play for the rest of the season because they said the problem has been is their passing game has been really bad because they said that the offensive coordinators have sort of like what they call it has hampered Jalen Hurts. They're really putting in his head of protecting the ball. That's why he hasn't been throwing the ball as much in majority of the games they win. So they think that the offense is going to be really
that's
slow
interesting.
and lethargic passing wise.
I'm gonna put a hard cap on that though. I think it's Jalen Hurts' fault, not the coordinators.
Yeah, well, yeah, their game plan is telling you we don't trust Jalen Hurts, and also too, just like one more real quick thing is the Packers threw like 3 picks in that game. Like that should be a blowout. They gave the ball to the Eagles
Jordan
over and
Love
over
was
again, and they still
awful.
couldn't really do much.
The one thing I
offensively.
will say is that they basically were up 10-0 before you could blink an eye, and they played really conservative the whole game. And
Sure, that's okay.
That's
fair.
It's just not historically like that. They've been passing the ball a lot.
The Packers fumbled on literally the first play of the game.
Yeah.
Let me show you the. This is Jalen Hurts' game history. Like he had 21 passes. He's had these 2, but he had 32 against Pittsburgh. He was throwing a lot, and then he obviously got hurt against Washington, got the concussion. But like it's been, I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that they've slowed down passing the game substantially. They have, I guess, compared to the beginning, but he's throwing 34 times a game. That's not tenable for anyone, to be honest. I would say it's pretty. I don't know. I guess they've slowed down some, but they've also been playing pretty bad teams like Pittsburgh.
You know, that's what I said. They were talking about how it started out this year, and that the offense has been getting gradually less high flying as it was in the beginning. Because if you look at AJ, like if you go to AJ Brown, look at go to his stats, you can see that it's slowing down because he's not getting the ball as much.
Yeah.
So AJ, he had 15 targets against Washington and 11 against Pittsburgh. You're talking about it's just really been the last couple games, but this game he barely played.
Washington, that wasn't even Jalen Hurts either in Washington.
No, it wasn't.
Right. That's
so
true. It was Pickett.
It's kind of, I think it's more of an up and down story more than it is clearly like, oh, they've taken the ball out of Hurts' hands. I think Hurts is just playing worse, to be honest.
Kind of like us, right? With Stafford, it's like it's up and down.
Yeah. But Saquon hasn't been.
The things that they can afford it because of how talented their O-line is and because they have Saquon Barkley.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have Saquon Barkley.
So do you guys have any? We've actually spent a lot of time talking about defense versus offense, but offense versus defense. Do we have any keys to this? To be honest, I think our 2 best cases for winning this game when we're focusing on the offense is I'm going to repeat the same thing we did last game. I'm going to shy away from the run a little bit, and I'm going to get into some play action passing. I'm going to get
On the
to some
ball?
quick
Yep.
action, and I'm going to take more deep shots, I think, because I think you just have to. You're going to have to score some points to beat the Eagles. You're going to have to score some points.
I think this is the game. I know this is kind of counterintuitive what I said by Stafford, but this is a different like animal with the Eagles, and this is a different like situation. I think this is where we're gonna need Stafford to show off his arm and take some risks, and we're gonna need some of those tight window throws. To be honest with you,
you got to force Hurts to throw. The only way to do that is to get a lead.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point, OJ. I was listening to there's this show, the Athletic Football Podcast, and those guys are just film guys through and through, and they were talking exactly about that. How in the Packers game, the game plan was very much like, we're not going to give you the just methodical 8-yard, 10-yard pass over and over. We're going to force you to throw it over the top and make a play, and the Packers weren't able to do that, and that's why they couldn't move the ball. So I think that's exactly right. We're going to have to take some shots in this game.
And look, that might result, in a pick, but it's a risk you're gonna have to take, and that's really the only way I see us beating them offensively.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got to take risks against a team like the Eagles, man. You can't sit back and try to methodically, like Will just said, try to methodically bring it down the field. You got to take risks. You got to hit them. That's just how it goes.
Yeah. Fangio, man. I mean, obviously Fangio's always been kind of an issue for Sean, right? So that's obviously something that gives me a little bit of, it makes me a little nervous, but
Fangio is an adjusting Brian Flores, is what he is. He's blitz happy, but he's constantly moving the chess pieces around. He's constantly adjusting. It's a bit of a nightmare.
Currently, right now, he's probably the best defensive coordinator in the league.
I agree.
Actually, I think he's second to Steve Spagnuolo. Spagnuolo does more with less.
Okay.
I think.
So yeah, he's also there. Spagnuolo is very good too.
That's true.
I mean, it's a debate for sure.
I forgot about Spags.
It's a debate for sure. Yeah,
but Spags has less talent, and he doesn't.
I forgot about Spags. Spags has also been doing a phenomenal job. Yeah,
they're both elite though. And okay, so let's switch it up to the opposite, which is Rams defense versus the offense of the Eagles. And this side is more intriguing to me. We are healthy. Even the only people we don't have healthy right now are, I think, Bobby Brown and Troy Reader, which is kind of addition by subtraction. No offense. Good luck on your future McDonald's careers. But yeah, I'm happy. I hope to see John Johnson the third more and Jalen McCullough a lot less. I think that would be a huge difference maker. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that McCullough is anywhere near John Johnson's leadership, communication, or just raw talent. So that would be a big deal. On offense, the Eagles are totally healthy. I don't think they're missing anyone.
No, they're not.
So
no.
This is a unit, by the way. Not only is, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith great. The O-line best in the NFL. Saquon best in the NFL. Goddard, great tight end. By the way, Grant Calcaterra is not a bad tight end himself. He's a great backup tight end. I've seen him make several nice catches this year.
Even Kenneth Gainwell has some juice.
Yes, they're deep. They're good. This is look. What do we got to do? What has to happen for us to win this game from in this defense versus offense perspective?
You gotta, like we've been saying, to me, it all comes down to stopping Saquon. Like, you gotta stop the run. Like, of course we said bracket AJ Brown, but all in all, if it gets to the point to where it's just Jalen Hurts and he's dotting us up, I would rather take that, because if Saquon is destroying us, it's going to open up everything for their offense, and they're not going to be able to be stopped. So if we could somehow stop Saquon Barkley, I think it messes up their whole offense.
We had a moment in last night's game while watching the Manning cast while we were running a lot of play action and a lot of motion and stuff. And Peyton Manning pointed out that the Vikings defense was utilizing double spies. And both inside linebackers essentially were being called to spy to see kind of what was happening. And I wonder if we wouldn't be best off just using a double spy technique where we got one guy keeping an eye on Jalen and one guy Focusing on Saquon. And just heavily focusing on the run and just say, hey, you know what? Yeah. We're going to weaken ourselves against the pass. We're going to ensure that one guy has his eyes on Jalen Hurts at all times and one guy has his eyes on Saquon. And I don't mind if we get beat over the top because Omar Spates overcommitted to stop Saquon on a play action. F it. You know what? That's fine. I'll take it. Our safeties can come up and they can make the tackle. They got a nice 8-10 yard gain. Cool. Saquon didn't beat us for 50. I think just from a schematic standpoint, I'm thinking just literally have each of our inside linebackers. I know Roseboom is not the ideal guy for Hurts, but we don't really have a better option unless we bench him.
We can use Curl in that situation.
That's a better option.
I mean, I just don't think they're going to do that. I'm trying to be
I don't
realistic.
think they're going to do it, but right.
Wait, hold on. Shula's watching the podcast. Shula.
Yeah. He surprised us last time.
Curl can take down he can take down the quarterback. He really can.
Yeah, I was thinking Curl for Hurts and then Spates for Saquon.
Hey,
you want like a
I'll
guy.
You know what? I will take it. Let's play a nickel dime package. Let's only play one inside linebacker most of the game. Have Curl be a sub linebacker / star position that shadows the quarterback. I'm 100% game for that. Spates and Curl in permanent spies all night, and then we bracket AJ Brown. I mean, I can't think of a better approach to stopping this juggernaut than that.
Yeah, it's like I said before the pod when we were talking. Like Bill Belichick always says, Bill Belichick did to us. I want to take away what they're best at. I want to take away their run, and I want to make them. I don't care. We don't have to bracket AJ Brown, even though it's the better thing to do it. I want to use all our resources to take away the run, and I want to make them have to do something they don't want to do. And they do not want to win games with Jalen Hurts throwing the ball all over the field.
Make him throw for 350.
The thing is you can't afford to bracket AJ Brown. You can't afford it. You just have to give more single coverage to Devontae Smith and Goddard. But I'm willing to do that.
Yeah.
I talked about this a bit earlier. I'm just gonna go more in depth on it now. Like Joe said, we need to slow down. I don't think you can stop Saquon, but you can slow him down to the minimum. But that's gonna have to do with Curl and Spates and those edges and the D line just in general. But what that results in is if you do slow down what's called Saquon, that results in Jalen Hurts, like I said earlier, being a second and long, third and long, and historically Jalen Hurts in those situations is not a good passer. And that's where he doesn't want to be. So that's like it's a very simple. It's not really like a crazy concept, but it's gonna be difficult to execute. And we're really gonna need some phenomenal performances from our defense, like from our players, like we did against the Vikings.
I think that's a great point as far as you could even get as specific as kind of like basically what you just said is stopping the run on first down. I think that's great because if it's 2nd and 10, now the decision is like, okay, do we run it again? But then if it doesn't work out, now it's 3rd and longer, or do you already then say you want to throw it? And that's how we want to play. We want to keep the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands.
Talking about
stopping the run on first down.
I would actually focus on 1st and 2nd down and just force a guaranteed 3rd and long unless they get something, and they get it. But let's go ahead and move on to key matchups. What you got?
I'll go first real quick. My key matchup is super simple. It's Stafford versus the Eagles secondary. They got a lot of good players. They got a nice rookie in Quinyon Mitchell. They got a nice rookie in Cooper DeJean. Blankenship, they got a nice player in him. They got Darius Slay, who's sort of having like a comeback season. He's been really, really good. They got CJ Gardner-Johnson at safety in the backfield. They got a really good secondary, and I want to see what Stafford could do against that secondary. I want to see if he can slice and dice them. So that's my key matchup. Stafford versus the Eagles secondary.
Yeah.
Okay. My key matchup quickly. This is a bit different, but I think this is going to really tell like whether our offense performs or not. McVay versus Fangio. I think that is the ultimate matchup. Can McVay finally overcome like I want to say arch nemesis, but like it kind of is like
kind of is
this arch nemesis. This is a guy that always gets him. Like I hope he does. Well, I think it'll happen. Probably not just because of how talented it's less of Sean McVay. It's just more due to the talent of the Eagles defense. But yeah, that's my key offensively and defensively. Quickly, I would say it's the front 7 versus Saquon. We already talked about this. Get at the point of the attack Saquon, try to limit the damage as much as possible. But yeah, that's my keys.
Okay. Mine is super simple. It is our D line versus their O line.
Yeah.
To me, that's really the ball. That's where the game is going to be won and lost. Their offensive line is obviously way better than Minnesota's. This isn't going to be a game like a 9-sack game or a Jalen Hurts is under pressure every other snap type of game. But can we get some kind of pressure? And then containing Jalen Hurts, not letting him escape, and then obviously their job in the run game. To me, yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
All right, and my key matchup, I kind of could have easily gone with all those. My key matchup's just going to be simple. It's going to be Matthew Stafford against himself. And
That's actually a good one. Yeah.
the reason why is
Matthew Stafford versus himself.
For two reasons, really three reasons. The three things he struggled with: spreading the ball around, being really accurate. If you're not accurate against the Eagles, they will make you pay. And then last but not least is not having turnover worthy throws. He needs to repeat because he's been really safe with the ball the second half of the season and yesterday. He needs to continue that. But accuracy, because if we want to beat the Eagles, we got to give our guys an opportunity for some yards after the catch. And accuracy is key to that possibility. You got to get those guys catching in stride so they can immediately take off and run, especially guys like Puka and Cup. But look, the Eagles are a great defense. They have a lot of pieces. You got to keep them guessing. If you're hyper focused on Puka Nakua, they're going to make you pay. It's just that simple. Fangio is going to exploit those problems. We need to force. Now, they're not going to blitz nearly as much. They're not going to get as much pressure. I think Stafford is going to have a little bit more time to go through his progressions. But this is the kind of game I want to see Cooper Kupp have 5+ targets in. And hopefully, probably not, have Jordan Whittington get some targets. But that's my key matchup. Let's move on to keys to victory. What you got, Joe?
My key to victory, like I always do, don't make this player a superstar. This one's super simple. We made him a superstar last game. He had 300 yards of total scrimmage. Saquon Barkley, don't make him a superstar. He smoked his last game. In this game, I would say try to keep him at under 80 yards, 70 yards rushing or something like that. And should just if he runs some screens, something like that. If he breaks a big one out or two, cool. But just don't make it to where they're constantly always ahead of the chains because he's getting 10 a pop, 12 a pop. Just sort of limiting them, and I think we'll be good.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay.
I mean, that's no. Go ahead, OJ. Go.
Yeah, I'll just quickly go. It's pretty short. It's simple. Just please don't turn over the ball. I'm speaking directly to Stafford. I'm actually looking at the camera. This one's Stafford and Kyron. If we want a chance in this game, do not turn over the ball, because if we have even one turnover, we're gonna be behind by 10 steps. Like, it's a fact. Like, we can't make mistakes.
What's that gif where the guy goes, "No, it's Captain America. I don't think I will." I feel like that's Kyron's catch fumbles response. It's no, I don't think I will. I will fumble again. Freaking, I can't trust that guy.
I'm going to fumble.
Zach Bond is going to be punching at that
with the Nick Saban thing. I'm not gonna. So quit asking. that's
I'm not gonna hold on to the ball.
Kyron, please don't fumble. No.
All right. My key to victory. I'm gonna be boring and do the same thing I always do. Trench battles, man. Trench battles.
Yeah,
we got to win the trench battles. We got to put pressure on Jalen Hurts. We got to keep Matthew Stafford clean. I think ultimately this ends up being a shootout, and I want to take some shots. So that's another key to victory. Is I'm talking about like play action post, play action streaks, end arounds. That's one of the reasons why I don't want to see Tutu in this game, is because you see what happens when Cup goes in motion. That's like he's barely got in motion all season. He goes in motion, gets a nice catch. Puka goes in motion. Some of his biggest plays of the season have been in motion. Some of D-Rob's big plays have been from motion. I want to see some real. I want McVay to go into his bag deeper than he's gone all season. I want to throw them off balance. Quick stuff, big stuff. Like the moment they think they've got us figured out, totally change up the approach. And I mean that's what it seems like the Buccaneers did to them, was where they were just constantly changing up their approach for how they were attacking. That's what I want to do, and I think that's the key to victories, because ultimately this offense is really good. The O-line's really good. And even though our defense is playing much better, I think it'd be foolish to just be like, oh, we're going to dominate them defensively. I think we need to be prepared to score 30+ points. And to do that, I think we just have to be mixing it up constantly.
Hey, man, I might want to see some trick plays, to be honest with you.
100%.
We might need those. Like, actually, what I'm talking about, like, going deep in the bag, like, deep in the bag. Like, do some Detroit Lions trick play stuff. Like,
you know what I would love to see? Like no cap. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see a hook and ladder from Puka, catches it, laterals it to Cooper Kupp, something like that. Something really inventive.
We can definitely do something.
Or
like
even someone like Tutu, hook and ladder to Tutu, so he can use that speed. Cup's my first option, but or Whittington. Oh, hook and ladder to Whittington. That would be sick.
Whittington, yeah.
Yeah, or
I
even
like that, man.
double end arounds. Dude, you gotta get these guys off balance. If they even think they know what's coming, they're gonna play full speed 100% of the time, and they're a fast team. So, all right, time for predictions. What do we got, boys?
I don't think
Oh, Will, did you get to keys to victory?
Oh, dude, yeah, mine is just super. It's the same thing as Joe, man. I mean, honestly, I could try to come up with something that's like new or exciting, but really, that's the answer for me. It's you limit Saquon Barkley. That is the
100%.
key to victory for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hey, we had a nice little variety of keys to victory. I liked it. All right, predictions. Who wants to get us going first?
I guess I'll go. Or Joe, you want to go?
Mine probably is gonna be different than y'all's, but you can go ahead. Go.
I can guess, but I mean, listen, like we talked about it. Like we have to limit Saquon Barkley, make Jalen Hurts a passer. We can't have turnovers. Stafford has to be smart. No fumbles from Kyron. Diversify the offense. McVay has to be in his bag. Shula has to be in his bag. It's a lot to ask for.
Sure.
Yeah, there's
really
a lot
is.
of things. That's
And
a long
because of
list.
that, because look, because of the talent gap as well, I feel like some mistakes might happen. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but like they'll put a number on us. I'll say Eagles 30, Rams 20.
Okay.
That's fair. You want to go last,
Joe?
Joe? He wants to go last, don't you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
All
He,
right.
he wants to go last.
All right,
I already know where it's
Ethan, you
going.
go ahead because I'm gonna think for a second more about.
All
What
right.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go a different direction. I'm gonna say, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna roll reverse here, because OJ went my direction. He went in the direction of
Wow.
a pretty decent
Uno
defeat.
reverse, huh?
Uno reverse in action. I'm gonna go with the OJ,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say, we do get into a situation where we're forcing Hurts to beat us, and we win 27-24 on a Josh McCarty walk-off.
Really?
I like it. I like
You've
it.
been
You did it.
surprised
You did it.
You've
right
been
now.
predicting
You
a
did
Josh
me.
McCarty walk-off for weeks.
Hey, you did it me. Yeah.
I didn't expect you to pick the Rams.
Hey,
to
I
win.
hope,
Okay.
man. I hope, man. Listen,
You know
like,
what? Look, is it? I'm going against my nature. Numbers tell
Yeah.
You
us
are.
that the Eagles are probably
I
going to
like
beat
it
us.
though. I like it.
But you know
Yeah.
what? We
It's the playoffs, baby.
envisioned
Anything
a
can
scenario and a game plan where we could beat the Vikings pretty handily, and we did exactly that. And I'm hopeful, and I'm like, you know what? There's
Hey,
a
listen,
chance
man.
that they scheme it correctly, and they
If
get
we
them on their
ex-
back foot, and it's playoffs. If the game
If
plan
we
is
if
good,
we execute, listen, I'll be honest with you. If we win this game, we execute, and it's not like fluky. I think we can win the Super Bowl, bro. If we can beat the
If we
Eagles,
if we win this
we
game,
can
yeah.
beat
If
the
we won
Lions.
this
hold
game.
on. Let's not go
I
crazy.
know it might sound like a stretch.
No, I don't think that's crazy
The
at all. though.
Eagles
You're
are
in
a
the NFC
super
Championship game
talented
at
team.
that point.
I'm saying if we execute properly, it's not fluky win.
Bro.
But
Basically,
the
we
issue,
do what we said.
is yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the Lions are a different kind of explosive
No, I understand that.
in a way
I
that the
understand.
Eagles
would
are
rather-
not.
But
I would
I'm
rather
saying
play the
that there's
Lions
a
than the Eagles,
chance
man.
because
I-
if we
I think the
win,
Eagles
we're
are a
in
worse
the.
matchup
You
for
have
us.
to remember, if we win, we're in the championship game.
Dude,
and we-
the Lions are a better offense, and they're much more explosive than the Eagles
They are, but the Eagles have a better defense, a better O line, a better D line. Like
I mean-
I would rather play. I'd rather play
I'm
Detroit, man,
talking
because at
about
least
like
you can move the
you have
ball
to,
on that
you have to
defense.
understand, right? If we win this game, we're in the championship game. At that point, we are a contender and we have a shot.
Bro,
For sure,
if we
no
beat
doubt.
the Eagles, if we beat the
I
Eagles,
don't even
I'm
want to
not
like.
worried about the
I
Lions.
don't
But
want to
Super
get
Bowl,
like,
you're
2
talking
steps
about the
ahead.
Bills or the freaking Chiefs, man.
That is true, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we have a chance.
Sure,
I'm not saying
sure.
we're gonna win it.
All right.
We still
I'm with
have
you.
to beat
Okay.
the Eagles. We
No,
very
but
much
you know
could
what though,
we could get our
OJ?
asses kicked by the
I-
Eagles.
Like it reminds me of when we beat San Fran the year we won the Super Bowl. It was like, okay, that was the one team that like really gave us problems and we beat them. So you kind of had that feeling of like you overcame, the thing that had been like the biggest thorn in your side. That's kind of how I feel about Philly, like Fangio and just the fact that they kicked our ass earlier this season. Like if we beat them, I'm with you. But yeah, I just look at this game and something we all agreed on last week was that we thought we matched up really well against Minnesota as far as like our strengths versus their weaknesses. And unfortunately for me, I just don't see that in this game.
We don't match up well at all. We don't.
We don't match up
don't.
well. Like our front, our front four against Minnesota, like that was why I knew, I had a good feeling. And man, their pass protection, their O-line is probably the best in football. I mean, it's them or Denver, but anyway, I don't like the matchup for us. There, especially if weather is a factor, like you guys are saying, and turns into like a more physical game. So I think again, weather might be maybe being a factor. I think it's actually going to be like an ugly, low-scoring game, and I think both defenses are playing very well.
I like
and
that.
I'm gonna say so yeah, I guess I'm gonna say Eagles 23, Rams 16.
Okay. That was a good one, Ethan. That was a great one too. So like Will said, we're not a good matchup for the Eagles at all.
No.
Um, they have us in almost every category other than coaching and QB and maybe some special team stuff. But defense, offense, they have us. They're more physical than us. The offensive line is more physical than us.
More athletic.
It would more athletic too. It would almost take like a football miracle for us to beat them. And I'm well aware of that. And if we're being real, if I pick them to win, this is straight homerism. It's straight me being a homer and me believing in this team and believing in Sean McVay and believing we can get it done. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to say that
Yeah.
the biggest upset.
I love that
the
setup,
biggest,
bro.
I love the setup.
the biggest upset of the
Got us in
year.
the first
The
half.
biggest upset of the year. The biggest upset of the year. I think the Rams going to Philly, and I can picture it already. It's going to be a tie game, and we're going to get a big turnover. We're going to have a big pass on the
I
other
like
end,
it, man.
and
Oh my god, I would
I like
freak
it.
out.
I
and
hope
like
I hope
I
that
would
happens.
freak
like
out.
Ethan
I'll
predicted,
go crazy, bro.
and like OJ been predicting for weeks. I think Joshua Carty's gonna hit like a
Come on,
55,
Cardi. Come on,
56
man.
yard field goal for the win. So I think
Come
the
on,
Rams
Cardi.
win in a super close game, and it's gonna come to one turnover at the last second. I got Rams winning
Can I
23-20.
can I
23-20. Okay. All right.
I know it goes against the data and all that jazz, but I have this feeling that the Eagles are not, because of the coaching issues, because of some of the issues with some, like, remember we were talking about how resilient the Rams are and how they get more fired up the worse things get. I actually feel the very
Yeah.
opposite about almost every player on the Eagles. The only guys that I feel like don't do that is probably the O line and Saquon. But they're all,
Yeah.
but those are
Mhm.
also the least important guys when your back's up against the wall, when you're
Yeah.
actually struggling. You then have to rely on AJ Brown, who we've seen have attitude problems. You have to rely on Jalen Hurts, who we've seen have attitude problems. You have to rely on Nick Sirianni, who we've seen have attitude problems. You have to rely on guys who we haven't really seen a ton of fight from. We haven't seen a ton of like overcoming and all that jazz, right? And so I just envision, and by the way, this is also some of the ways they've lost this season is when they were totally knocked off balance. Whether it was the Buccaneers getting an early big lead or the Falcons game against them that they lost where they were just off balance all game. I don't know. It just feels like this scenario where like if we can knock them off balance, maybe it's not even a likely scenario. But if we
Make
can
it an ugly game, man.
if we can knock them off balance, I just feel
Yeah.
like there's a chance we can catch them off guard and they don't have that grit to overcome that scenario.
Listen. If we played the Eagles 100 times, they probably would beat us 99 times. But like Doctor Strange said in that movie, that is one way to get it done.
So
It's only
you're
one way, and I think we get there one way.
okay. All right.
I mean, he's not wrong though.
So
but yeah.
Joe's being a homer. I'm just going with my gut. I feel like something's coming. And I don't know. We'll see. I think the last time I went with my gut, I was wrong, but I'm feeling better about this one.
I think this is the first time we've been split,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2-2.
I like it though. It makes it
Yeah.
interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Analytical approach, the
Yeah.
gut approach, the homer approach.
We're giving
logical
everything to you
approach.
guys today.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We appreciate you guys watching. This was a bit of a long one, but you know what? It's the playoffs, so screw it.
Yep.
We got to dive in deep on these games. We appreciate you guys watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about the Vikings game, what you guys think about this upcoming game against the Eagles. And, why don't you follow up on what OJ said? What do you think our chances are to win the Super Bowl if we do beat the Eagles? All that jazz. I know most of you are probably hating on the Lions and think we probably steamroll them, but yeah, I'm interested to hear you guys' opinions and thoughts. We appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys next episode.
Go Rams, baby.
Go Rams.
Sir, go Rams. Appreciate